The Jake Asman Show will begin shortly. Thanks to all these great Patreon members who help support the show. Get your super chats ready. Jake will be here in just a moment. If you love the New York Jets, this is the place to be. And now, the Jake Asman Show.
Busy day for the Jets as they continue interviews for their GM and head coach. Nick Faria, Jets reporter, will join us. We'll get his thoughts on where things stand. It is the Jake Asman Show. Let's hit it and get it started. Man. This is the same old Jets. We have Aaron freaking Rodgers. We have Garrett Wilson. We have Breece Hall. Please subscribe and hit the like button below. Super chat, baby. Cut the line. We have Sauce Gardner. We have Quinnen Williams. Now it's time to talk all things New York Jets. It's the Jake Asman Show. Here we go, Jet fans. Welcome in, everybody. Hit that like button and make sure you are subscribed to the channel. If you haven't joined the Patreon yet, what are you waiting for? For less than a cup of coffee a month, you find out about exclusive listener events before anybody. You get access to our private Discord, bonus shows every month that are not on YouTube, your name in the intro, which we have officially updated for the month of January, and a whole lot more. Support me by going to patreon.com/Jake Asman Show, and I will shout you out when you sign up on a future show. Joining us right now in his weekly spot is Jets beat reporter Nick Faria. Nick, welcome aboard, man. How are you?
Of course. Great to be back on, Jake.
So the Jet season is over, and now the quote-unquote real fun begins as the Jets continue their search for a general manager, continue their search at the same time for a head coach. I want to update everybody on what's happening today. According to Ian Rappaport, the Jets will interview Lions DC Aaron Glenn, and they will interview Rams senior personnel executive Ray Farmer. Glenn for head coach, Farmer for GM. Let's start with Glenn because he feels like a legit candidate for this job, Nick. Your thoughts on his candidacy?
Yeah, I mean, gun to my head right now, I think that Glenn would probably be the top guy that ends up getting the job. Objectively, I think his connection with the Jets family, his work with the Detroit Lions defense, building them from one of the worst units in football over the last couple of years to now being one of the best and finding ways to be successful with all the injuries they have suffered for him. So he has an extensive resume. He's worked in scouting. He's worked in coaching. He's done a great job as a play caller. There's going to be some questions about who he has, fixing their offense, as would any defensive-minded coach coming in for a head coaching job. He's going to have to figure that position out. But by and large, I think this is probably the favorite for the job right now. Mike Vrabel looks to be a lock in New England. You have questions surrounding these other guys. Again, this isn't to say that he would be the one that I would hire. It's just the one that I think makes the most sense for the Jets right now.
When it comes to this job, Nick, your thoughts on the process so far, all the names requested for GM and coach, what's your take on how the Jets have gone about it to this point?
Over 25 names combined total, GM and head coach. I mean, that's a lot of names, but there are going to be some people that think, oh, this is too many cooks in the kitchen. They're trying to get opinions from too many people. I think the opposite. I think they understand, this front office, this executive leadership team understands where they have failed. They have not found the right guy. So interviewing as many people as you possibly can to just get a gauge on what is not working for this team, number one, and then also the easiest and best way to fix it, the best process in order to move forward. So I look at what the Jets are doing right now, and I think they have to be commended. They are not leaving any stone unturned. That is what you do when you are a rebuilding program that hasn't made the playoffs in 14 seasons. You don't pick 5 guys and say, hey, I want one of these guys. You cast a very wide net, and then you move forward and try to find the best available person around those names.
Your thoughts on GM first, then coach, coach first, then GM. How do you see the Jets ultimately hiring, the order in which they hire the next GM/head coach?
I think it's going to come down to where Vrabel ends up going. And again, we can expect him to end up with the New England Patriots. We expect that Brian Flores could be in consideration. But if you get those kind of former head coaches that essentially say, I want to be the de facto GM, I want someone who's just going to help me along in the process, then you would go head coach and then general manager. But by and large, I think they're going to hire a GM first. I think they want to get that position first and then move forward to the head coaching cycle, if you will. Because the other piece is executives are going to be able to interview, you have all that. But there are a lot of assistant coaches that you can't really interview right now. You look at the Munkins of the world. You look at Tampa Bay as well, and in terms of Liam Cohen. The right way to do things through NFL history is you hire the GM, then the head coach. If you're trying to go for Vrabel, you hire him and then the GM. That's really the only perspective I have in terms of where they should go first and foremost.
Your thoughts on Vrabel? It feels like he's the favorite for New England, but could you see a scenario where maybe he's not the New England Patriots head coach?
He agrees to be the New England. I mean, think of the irony where he agrees to be the New England head coach for a day, and then he has a press conference that says, actually, I'm going to be the Jets head coach. I mean, that would be a cruel irony, wouldn't it? But jokes aside, I just don't see it happening. I think he's a surefire pick to be the Patriots head coach. I think the only way that changes, and I mean the only way that changes, is if Ben Johnson knocks his interview out of the park. The Patriots know they need to surround Drake May with quality talent, both in skill and in coaching. If they felt that Ben Johnson is the only potential guy that could at least be better or close to Vrabel in terms of his overall aura as a head coach, I still think Vrabel's going to be the guy.
Ultimately, if they hire Vrabel in New England, and let's say Ben Johnson goes to Jacksonville, how does that kind of, or Chicago, how does that impact the Jets potentially with some of the other candidates the Jets have spoken to?
Yeah, I don't think it changes anything. First off, Ben Johnson doesn't look like he wants the Jets job. Doesn't look like the Jets are interested in having him come in for the job.
I think they know he won't take the job, which is why they didn't request him.
Of course. It's really the cat and mouse game of interview processes and everything like that. But I don't think it changes anything. They're looking for a leader. They're looking for a guy that understands how to build successful winning programs, whether that just be as an assistant coach and you're sort of rebuilding a particular position group, or a former head coach that's actually had success in the National Football League. So there's a lot of different ways this Jets team can go. I have always been at the forefront that you need an offensive-minded head coach to keep a stable system in place for whoever is going to be your quarterback, whether it's Aaron Rodgers or after Aaron Rodgers. There's going to be people that argue that you need a defensive guy because they're good leaders, and strong leaders usually come from the defensive special team side. There's no one right way. It's just a matter of what this team will prefer and what fans will prefer. There are going to be some people that want Joe Brady. There are going to be some people that want Liam Cohen. There's going to be others that want Todd Monken. And there's others that are going to say, you know what? None of these guys have had coaching experience in the NFL. I would rather a guy like Brian Flores. There's plenty of names right now to go out and debate. But by and large, we're not going to know the favorite for this job for at least another week, maybe another week and a half.
Why haven't they requested Liam Cohen? Why haven't they requested Todd Monken? Why haven't they spoke with John Gruden or Pete Carroll? They've talked to all these names, but they haven't talked to all the names that I think would make sense for the Jets to at least have discussions with. Your thoughts there?
Yeah, so again, this is still a process. You're still hearing names being propped up every other day. Oh, they're requesting an interview here. They're requesting an interview there. Just because they haven't requested to interview Todd Monken or Liam Cohen doesn't mean that that's not going to happen. You look, they've requested an interview for Mike Greenberg, the GM, the assistant GM for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think it's a safe bet that if they're looking to hire Greenberg as the GM, then Cohen would vault into the top tier of Jets interest for the potential head coaching job. This isn't to say that that's exactly what's going to happen, but that's kind of the process that happens. If they're looking to go the GM route first, then you have guys like Farmer, like Greenberg, where they have ties to different organizations and different people around there. So I look at it not so much as a panic mode right now about certain people they haven't interviewed. It's just this is going to be a process. It's going to be a long process, and people need to just sort of relax and understand that it's about getting the right guy, not getting the right guy by January 10th.
Asking Jet fans to relax. That is a bold strategy, Cotton.
Listen, I actually talked myself in the last week and a half. The more I've been thinking about it, because his name has been tied with Brian Flores as a potential offensive coordinator candidate. But there's something about Josh McCown as a potential coach that really entices me. Maybe it's because of my background with Philadelphia, where I saw Andy Reid go from offensive assistant in Green Bay to the head coaching job of the Eagles. He turned it around in 2 seasons. I look at that as a potential case of what Josh McCown could do in a head coaching role. He's a name that if you're looking at for the under the radar pick, sure, he could be your offensive coordinator. I'm not sitting there saying that he would be great right away. All I'm saying is it makes a lot of sense if the Jets are looking for this young, energetic guy who understands the New York market, who's worked with really good offenses, who's developed quarterbacks, and has interviewed really well. I mean, he's kind of checking off all those boxes.
If you hire McCown, at least one, he's an offensive guy. Two, the fan base, I think, will support it for the most part because of the fact he's a former Jet, great guy, played well here his 1 year as a starter, was a great mentor to Sam Darnold. I just don't want to necessarily take the chance on a guy who's never.
I totally get it. There's a youth aspect to it. He hasn't officially called plays. Again, I consider myself an NFL historian, so when I make these opinions, I'm looking based on NFL lore of what worked before. Not everyone is Andy Reid. A lot of his coaches from his tree have really struggled in recent years. But when we're talking about McCown, we're talking about a guy who was very, very close to getting the Houston Texans job.
He was.
Public opinion essentially had to walk in and essentially say, stop, you cannot hire this man. He was just in the NFL. I look at it and I'm like, hey, he interviews well, former quarterback, has an offensive system that has worked. If he gets a veteran defensive-minded coordinator that can work on the defense on his own, that's an enticing option that I think people would be okay with.
100%. I mean, look, at the end of the day, he's offensive-minded. He's a former quarterback, former player, and we're seeing a trend in the NFL right now, whether it be Dan Campbell, Kevin O'Connell, where the former player has become a coach, and they've done well. And the Jets would essentially be trying to get ahead on McCown being the guy before, like a year from now, he might be the next trendy name for everybody. Like they would be saying, we found our next Kevin O'Connell, watch. That's what they'd be doing if they hired him as the head coach. Me personally, I'd love Brian Flores as the head coach, and I'd hope he'd promote McCown from quarterback coach and take him with him to be the OC of the Jets. But I'm not as anti-McCown as maybe some. Like, I'll take Josh McCown over Arthur Smith.
Oh,
or
100%.
Matt Nagy. Like, I'll roll the dice with McCown over a retread that didn't have that much success their first go around.
And that's the thing. So, like, I on F1 Sports on Monday, I wrote down the list of names and put them into tiers of the people that the Jets were interviewing or requesting an interview. And then McCown's name came up, and I'm like, I could put him in tier 3. I think he could do some good. And then I started thinking about it. I'm like, this makes a lot of sense. Former player, quarterback, understands the New York market. Maybe I got to put him in tier 2. 3 days later, I'm like, you know what? This makes a hell of a lot of sense. Maybe I got to put him up there with Joe Brady. It just fits what the Jets need from an overall team perspective.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you have a question for Nick Faria, Jets beat reporter, or myself, super chat it in. We also are seeking more channel memberships for our next raffle. Our grand prize is a New York Jets full-sized helmet that I will be sending to you. Better have a place to put it. It is a big, big helmet, baby. The other prizes, an Aaron Rodgers jersey and the 1965 Joe Namath Welcome to the NFL trading card right here, baby. So we got a lot of good stuff,
man. Jeez.
Hey, spend money to make money, Nick. But I am excited to do another raffle. We're going to basically do one every week with the amount of memberships that keep coming in. Carlos was the first to get the membership today. So, Carlos, thank you. He didn't even get the membership. He just hit the join button and became a member. So if you want in on the raffle, every membership you get that amount of entries into the raffle. So one for Carlos, who became a channel member the old-fashioned way. This one is from Dan. He starts us off. He says, Glenn was a scout on the Rex staff in 2012-2013. Could you see Glenn trying to hire Rex as a DC if Rex would take the job? I kind of like the Glenn scenario. Your thoughts, Nick?
I don't think he would go after Rex. I think he's going to want someone that he's worked with consistently over the last few years. So probably like an assistant from Detroit would make a lot of sense to hire. Maybe the quarterback coach for Detroit as well to be their offensive coordinator. Maybe they go after McCown if Glenn's the pick for the head coaching job as an OC. So there's still a lot of questions to have. I don't see Rex Ryan leaving ESPN for a defensive coordinator job. I think he's only leaving for a head coaching role. I don't see him coming back just to coach a defense.
What are your thoughts on Rex as a candidate for the Jets? Could you see a path where he got the job?
I don't think so. I really don't, because he hasn't coached in the NFL in close to a decade. He hasn't had a coordinator position. He's been on ESPN. Now, this isn't to say that people from ESPN don't get the top jobs. You look at what was the guy? Oh my God, the guy from the Raiders. I'm completely blanking on his name.
John Gruden?
No. The GM that was hired with Gruden.
Mike Mayock. He was on NFL Network.
Thank you. And so Mayock went from the network immediately into a GM job. That's happened, but I don't see that happening here to be the head coach. I just don't think he's a viable candidate right now, and I just don't see him as a serious contender for this role. You know, I'm sure they wanted to give him the interview as a courtesy. I just don't see this as a legitimate option.
Well, he interviewed for the Broncos DC job and the Cowboys DC job the last 2 off seasons. He didn't get it. So I think he would take a DC job, but I don't think he'd take the DC job of the Jets. You know, I just can't see Rex's ego allowing him to be a defensive coordinator of the Jets. His team, they haven't had success since he was the head coach, and he's
not Vance Joseph. Yeah, Vance Joseph, that was a surprise when he went back to Denver and essentially saying, hey, it didn't work out with me as a head coach, but I'll gladly come back and be the DC. And it's worked out well for him. He's going to get some interviews for a head coaching job as well. I don't see Rex being that kind of guy.
Your thoughts on Rex walking into the interview the other day, though, and apparently this playing?
Oh, yeah. You know what time it is. You tried to throw him away, but this man's coming back. Sometimes he's fat or thin. That waistband makes him slim. He's got the fix you need. They call him sexy, Rexy.
Fuck Gruden, he's no Jet. I'm here to crack some skulls. I'll turn these boys to men. This team is stacked with pros. Hire me, you won't break your purse. I'm here to break the curse. They call me sexy, Rexy. Fuck all you naysayers.
Ooh, sexy. Ooh, he's sexy, Rexy, sexy. Ooh, he's sexy, Rexy, sexy. Ooh, he's sexy, Rexy, sexy. Ooh, he's sexy, Rexy.
Yeah. Nick loves it. He was dancing off air. Is going,
Good Lord. Gator, I got to tip my cap to you, man. That was amazing. That was absolutely amazing.
Ladies and gentlemen, NY Cursor is the first to gift a membership during today's program.
It's the Asmaniac membership raffle. For every membership gifted, you receive 1 ticket entered in the raffle to win epic prizes.
If you hear your name called, these are from NY Cursor, Luigi J, Chocolate Chip Scotchy, Med Team 3 Parents, Juan Suarez, and Andal Diet, all receiving channel memberships courtesy of NY Cursor. Get your questions in for Nick to answer, like this one from Pastor Carlos, who says, what has Brian Flores done to make him the guy for the job?
You know, I think the conversation surrounding Brian Flores, you look at the record in Miami and the fact that it ended with a winning record, but they didn't make the playoffs. And then, you have all these issues coming out with assistants and with players. Flores is a no-nonsense guy. And from what I've learned with Jet fans, they are looking desperately for the next Bill Parcells. That's all they're looking for, because it's the only thing, the only success that they have had over the last 20, 30 years where it was consistent, actual success that made you proud to be a fan of the organization. I don't believe Brian Flores is the right guy for the job, number one. And number two, would actually do a good job even if he's hired. I mean, there's a lot of stories coming out of Miami about the way that he acted as head coach. And you look at it, so many times Bill Belichick coaches, the assistants of the Bill Belichick tree, they try to be Bill Belichick. They try to be the no-nonsense guy, I am the one who understands how to win. I am the one, what I say goes, and everyone else will follow me. And you look at the records, and it's just abysmal. The only one that's had a small bit of success is Bill O'Brien. And Bill O'Brien's not going to be the one that's going to be hired here. So I look at Flores, alienated his assistants, alienated the roster, alienated the front office. When you have the trifecta of just being miserable to everybody, it kind of weighs on you. And people will look and say, well, Flores can hire all these guys because he has different relationships. I question that because I think people will look at what happened in Miami and say, why would I want to join this where the first sign of trouble comes in and my head's going to be on a platter? I have serious concerns about Flores as an overall leader. As a defensive play caller, as a schematic standpoint, he is one of the best in the NFL. But as a true leader of an organization, I have serious concerns about that.
Here's why I like Flores. One, the guy won. All right. Winning in Miami, that's not nothing. Two, I'm sure he has learned from his first go-around. He had a year with Mike Tomlin. He's now had 2 years with Kevin O'Connell. Two guys with completely different leadership styles on two different sides of the ball. I believe he has probably gained a lot of experience from his first go-around. And I also think he's going to end up being right on Tua. Tua's soft, can't stay healthy, and is not a legit franchise quarterback. He was ahead of the curve on that. So I'm willing to give him another chance, contingent on what his plan would be for the offensive staff. Because his biggest issue in Miami was he went through 3 offensive coordinators in 3 years. So you'd have to get the OC hire right if you're going to feel comfortable with him going forward. But if you told me it's Josh McCown as his OC and Brian Flores from Brooklyn, hard ass, would fix the defense, hold guys accountable as the head coach, that's the type of second chance I want to give to a guy with previous coaching experience.
The question would be, what does perception look like? Obviously, the perception of hiring a no-nonsense guy is awesome for a Jets team that's been one of the most penalized units in football. But there's a reason why Eric Bieniemy hasn't gotten a head coaching job, even when he was the offensive coordinator for the Chiefs and they were winning Super Bowls with him. What he did back in college and as assistants and having all those side concerns way back when, that has followed him throughout his career. You can say he changed, and I think that's a very fair statement. What did he learn from those mistakes from the past? But if it wasn't good enough to get Eric Bieniemy a job, who's to say that it's going to be good enough to allow Flores to get a job? And I think that's the concern that I have. He can say he learns from his mistakes all the time.
Bieniemy was never a head coach anywhere. Flores actually proved he could win with subpar quarterback play.
But Bieniemy was a guy that was at the top of so many people's lists, and every single time, from what I heard, he would go in to interview for a head coaching job, and teams wanted him, and it would literally be, how would you respond to this situation? And he didn't have a good enough answer.
Yeah, but Flores actually did the job and said, I won. Like I my last 2 years, I was 10-6 and 9-7.
And along the way, he alienated every single person he worked with. That's not just something
in Miami, maybe, but Mike Tomlin hired him immediately. He thought he was a good coach. Kevin O'Connell hired him immediately. He thought he was a good
defensive
coach.
Jobs.
I get it.
That's my point. They hired him for him to run his defensive scheme. He is a fantastic defensive coordinator. No one is arguing that. But if he has to run an entire team, that's where the concerns are going to come up.
Well, that's where you hope a guy who has been in that seat before, and it's not like he was bad. He was a decent coach, would get better and then have another opportunity, to show what he has learned the last 4 years. He's not been a head coach.
Again, it comes back to what you would prefer as a head coach. My end, I'm always looking for the offensive guy. I'm looking for the innovative guy that can put up points. Jake, you want the experienced guy. There's nothing wrong with that. It's worked on both sides. It's just a matter of who would you prefer. I think there's serious concerns about the overall attitude and how he would handle the offense. If he were to hire a strong offensive coordinator, whether it's McCown, whether it's somebody else, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be able to buy into that kind of situation. You got to get the quarterback right. There's other things you would have to do, but it's all going to be dependent on what this team wants to do moving forward.
Ladies and gentlemen, the chat is going in on Nick Faria. Jay writes in, people can't change. Got it. Curly writes in, so Flores has no ability to change second time around? That's ridiculous. Your response, Nick.
But again, I think we're missing the point here. It's not about me saying he can't change. It's about NFL owners saying, listen, you had this shot and you were successful, but along the way, you made life miserable. We'd rather you be the defensive play caller than the guy running the show and working with quarterbacks. That's That's a legitimate question.
Real estate says people can learn, and maybe he has.
Maybe. And that'll work. That'll be determined in interviews.
Jet-based girl says Nick is soft. He doesn't like tough coaches. Are you soft, Nick?
No. That the only way that I was able to play was with hard-nosed coaches, my father being one of them. But again, it's not about being hard or soft. You look, is Sean McVay a hard coach? Is Nick Sirianni a hard coach? I wouldn't call them exactly hard-nosed guys, but they're two extremely successful people. There's different ways to win where you don't have to be the drill sergeant.
The chat coming up and in. We got Hector using all caps here. Hey, Nick, I'm really getting tired of you bashing every person in the Jets interview. Like, no one can be good enough for you unless you come up with a name. Be the GM if you think you're perfect. Nick, do you think you're perfect?
No, of course not. And I don't remember bashing, some of these other names. I'm not saying Aaron Glenn's a bad hire. I just said he's probably the favorite for the job. I mean, I don't know what the complaint is here.
Let's see. Wild Wave says, Nick, I support you. F the haters.
Listen, it happens. It's all good. My stance has always been you hire the offensive guy. Always. I would rather have an offensive system in place with the head coach, and I would just say flat out, if it's between Flores or someone like Joe Brady or Monken, I would take those guys over Flores.
NY Jets Florida wants to know, will there be a bounty on Nick? If someone gives 20 memberships, Nick, I'll send you some money for lunch, and we'll be on our merry way.
I think that's the normal deal. Whatever is the point there. Send me money. I'll go to Applebee's for lunch. And it'll be good.
Someone gives 20 memberships. Nick's gone. I'll send him some lunch money for his time, and we'll see him later. This one is from Dimitri, who wants to know, who do you think the favorite is for the GM position? Dimitrov. I like Thomas Dimitrov a lot. I don't know if he'd be the favorite, but your thoughts on the GM situation?
I don't think there's a favorite right now. I still think they're going through this early process. I think they like Borgonzi a lot. There's a reason why they would interview Nagy and Spagnuolo to this point. It's just too early to determine that. This is the first round, the first wave of interviews. Talk to me in a couple of weeks when they're on their second interviews overall to determine who they think is going to be the best bet. Dimitrov certainly is a strong hire. He's worked with a quarterback. He drafted a quarterback high, and it worked out for them. He built around that quarterback. He was able to get him an MVP and even got to a Super Bowl. So I think the fans would be pretty happy with Thomas Dimitrov. I think it would be a strong hire overall. You look at a guy like Mike Greenberg. You look at a guy like Farmer, who's worked with Les Snead. Alec Hallaby's probably the underrated name in all of this. But ultimately, I think we're still too early in this process.
John FL has gifted a membership. He's added to the raffle. John, thank you. This one's from Brooklyn Born. Let Johnson go coach in the AFC West against Reed, Peyton, and Harbaugh with the roster in Las Vegas equals failure. I don't think Ben Johnson would take the Raider job without a quarterback in place.
No, I agree. I don't think he's going to. I think it's either Chicago or New England. I don't think.
What about Jacksonville?
Jacksonville, maybe, but I think Jacksonville, for some reason, I think they're looking at Saleh and like, hey, we need a guy, hard-nosed guy, defensive-minded. Our defense has been awful. Maybe that's something we go down. I think Jacksonville's kind of just lurking in the waters right now.
Peter Castro, angry with you, all caps. Nick Flores is the best coach out there. We don't want goody two shoes. Interesting way of spelling shoes, Peter, but I get the point.
I thought Mike Vrabel was the best guy out there.
I guess he's assuming Vrabel's not an option.
But again, you guys want the experienced coach. You guys are trying to find the Bill Parcells. I get it. It's the last true coach you had that was successful consistently over many years. But there are other ways to win in the NFL outside of the Bill Parcells way. And in modern NFL, players are different. They respond differently to these drill sergeants. That's just an objective fact. If you want someone like that, that's fine. But you need to make sure that everyone is going to buy in. Otherwise, they're not going to win. That's a huge point in all of this.
Bo with a super chat. Let's not forget these new head coaches are looking for success to establish a franchise. Having key players and the facility is a huge draw in our favor.
I agree. I completely agree. Listen, they've got a young core. This is an attractive job. I don't think it's as attractive as, say, New England or maybe Chicago, but you're probably looking at the third most attractive job, which means you can still get a top quality coach and the right guy for the job, whether it's Flores, whether it's, Todd Monken or Joe Brady, whoever it is, you're still going to be able to get a top guy.
Ladies and gentlemen, hit the like button if you're just tuning in. We're talking with Nick Faria on his weekly spot on the program. C checks in. Being a leader doesn't mean being a dictator. Could see it get ugly with a frustrated young core. We need a leader to get these guys to buy back in.
But again, so this is kind of my point. Everyone wants the drill sergeant. Are we sure the drill sergeant is how modern players will respond? Are we sure that they are going to respond in a positive light to drill sergeants? Modern NFL players don't really do that anymore. That's just the nature of the NFL and the nature of people nowadays at the professional level. I think it's a fair point to say if he is going to come in, which obviously we don't know, he still has to interview, and we're going to learn more about that in the process. But if we're going to sit here and say that he's a no-nonsense guy, are we sure that players will respond to that? I don't know if that's going to be the case.
Chris writes in, Faria, worst guess by far. Nick,
appreciate it. I will wear that with a badge of honor. I will wear that well. Thank you.
Damn. I mean, Chris, what did Nick do to you? Did he pee in your cereal or something? Jeez.
Yeah, I'm just reminding you guys, I'm saying that Brian Flores has a lot of red flags. That's pretty much all I'm saying here. I'm not saying he's not going to get the job. I'm not saying anything else. My preference is always an offensive guy. That's you're not going to change my opinion on that. There's successful teams that have done it that way.
Mongo Horse Punch writes in, Flores, hard pass. We could hope he learned from his past, but personality types don't change. It goes south quickly. I don't know about that. Tom Coughlin changed and won a Super Bowl, 2 of them with the Giants after nearly being fired.
I'm glad you brought up I'm glad you brought up Tom Coughlin, because I think this is why I think with Flores there's still going to be red flags because of the drill sergeant, no nonsense type. Tom Coughlin had to quite literally change everything. It wasn't that the staff hated him. It was just that he was too hard on his players. He had to dial it back, and the team responded really well. With Flores, it was everybody he alienated. It wasn't just the players. It was the coaching staff as well. That is where there's going to be questions and issues regarding his overall candidacy, not just for the Jets job, but other jobs as well. There's a reason why when people talk about top head coaching candidates, people are looking at, well, the Jets could get Aaron Glenn. They could get an offensive guy. Same thing for the Bears. Same thing for the Patriots. But Brian Flores is not considered a top favorite for any particular position right now because there are a lot of questions that he has to answer to.
Peter Castro says, go to the hole. 20
Incredible.
memberships, Peter. And the conversation with Nick, it ends. That's it. Let's see. Super chat here from Bill M, who says, is the 3013 pushing for a head coaching hire first before a GM?
No, I think like we talked about earlier, I think they're trying to determine what exactly the Jets want. If they are going all in on Vrabel, then they're going to hire the head coach first before the GM because Vrabel's going to want his hand, his pick overall, and someone that he can trust and work with, unlike what happened with John Robinson at the end of their tenure in Tennessee. But if Vrabel goes to New England, I think the 3013 is just essentially listing a very long crew of names for the Jets to interview and consider. We talked about Greenberg. We've talked about Gain from Buffalo, all these other names that they've talked about. It's not to say that they're trying to get the head coach first. It's that they're trying to get all of these names together so there's a seamless transition into this new hire.
Sam with a super chat. Relax. Parcells was not necessarily a drill sergeant. He knew which lever to pull for each player.
Right. Okay. Fine. If we want to describe it that, he was still a hard-nosed, no-nonsense guy. Brian Flores isn't a Parcells guy. He's a Belichick guy. I think there's a clear distinction there. With Belichick, his assistants haven't really been successful. And a big part of that is because they have tried to be what Belichick was during the Patriots dynasty. And players, modern players, do not respond to that anymore. They didn't in New England, and they haven't for all of the assistants. They didn't with Josh McDaniels. They didn't with Matt Patricia, with Romeo Crennel. All these other names that have been given opportunities. I got to be honest. I look at it and say there are going to be questions, and there's a reason why Flores is not the top candidate like with Mike Vrabel or like with Ben Johnson or some of these other offensive names.
C checks in. To clarify, I agree with Nick. Beef flow, too many red flags. Guy will drive the core right out of the building. Don't have to be a dictator to lead men. Balance. Once again, The idea that Brian Flores would do everything exactly the same, I'm not buying, see? And also, here's my thing with Flores, right? The guy won games in Miami. Let's not act like he was a disaster. The guy was 10-6 and 9-7 his last 2 years there with subpar rosters and average to below average quarterback play. And then Mike Tomlin hired him, and then Kevin O'Connell hired him, and he's been around those guys the last 3 years. So I don't buy that. Oh, you hire Brian Flores. He's gonna do everything exactly the same in Miami. I'm not buying that.
I'm not saying that either. But if the going gets tough, is he not going to revert back to some of his old tendencies in terms of just going hard pressed on his coaches, hard pressed on the players overall?
I mean, his players love him in Minnesota. They love the guy.
But he's a defensive coordinator. He's working with the guys he's always worked with in his NFL career. He's a great coordinator. I think he's going to have problems if he tries to be a head coach again.
Ladies and gentlemen, a super chat from Tyrone. How about Doug Peterson? He won a Super Bowl with a backup.
I would stay the hell away from him as a head coach. I think as an offensive coordinator, though, I actually mentioned this a couple of days ago. If Aaron Glenn is going to be the hire as head coach, would Jet fans sign up for a Doug Peterson-led offense with the work that he did with Trevor Lawrence, particularly early on in their career before Lawrence started getting banged up with the offensive line, and then also with the job that he did in Philadelphia with multiple quarterbacks? I think there is a path there to you look and say Aaron Glenn to be the head coach, run the defense, have help on the defensive side, and then give Doug Peterson full autonomy of the offense. And now you've got an offensive coordinator who's probably not leaving for another head coach again, still there, able to build that stability over there. That's an intriguing option.
Merklo says, go cover the Browns, bozo.
Why would I go to the Browns?
Yeah, why Cleveland? I mean, come on.
Why would I want to move to Cleveland?
Hit the like button if you're just tuning in. Comments, questions, super chats, cut the line. We're presented today by SeatGeek. If you want to get tickets to any concert, any stand-up comedian, any sporting event, including Knicks Thunder tomorrow night at MSG, use promo code Jake Asman after you download that SeatGeek app. And if you're a new customer, guess what? You're going to save money, $20 with your first SeatGeek purchase. All the info is in the description box, but support SeatGeek because they support me. So if you're buying tickets for hockey, basketball, any sporting event, any concert, any stand-up comedian, you name it, SeatGeek, promo code Jake Asman for $20 off your first SeatGeek order. Comments, questions, super chats, they cut the line. Nick, there's a guy on the line who has had a lot to say about your takes this morning. He has called you out. He has said, I want to send him to the hole. So we're going to handle this like men on the show. This is what we like to call an Asmaniac Rumble.
Ladies and gentlemen, sports fans of all ages, welcome to the event of the year, the moment you've all been waiting for. This is the Asmaniac Rumble.
Hey, Jake. Hey, Nick.
How's everything going?
Nick, you're so far out of line. It's unbelievable. You're worse than Mike Francesa.
With what?
Right? With Flores. You're basing on he had an argument with his quarterback. So what? He fired a couple of offensive coordinators. Good. If they stink, you should fire them. I mean, what do you want? Somebody in there dancing around? Look what we have now. We have a totally undisciplined team. There's no discipline whatsoever. But you got to work with them today. It doesn't work that way. The best coaches the Jets ever had were Walt Michaels and Bill Parcells as far as discipline. And they went out every Sunday and they gave you 150%. You're not even getting 50% out of this group. You need discipline. They have no discipline whatsoever. None.
And Pete, let me ask you, why is it that an offensive guy can't be the one to bring in discipline?
There is no offensive guy out there right now other than Ben Johnson.
How do you know? How do you know?
I don't know. But
so you are going off the perception as a Jets fan that the only way this team has been successful in their team's history is with the no-nonsense guys, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Is that the only way to win in the National Football League?
Well, I see, yeah.
Okay, from what you see.
Andy Reid's a no-nonsense guy.
Well, absolutely not. Absolutely not. He's got a great relationship with coaches and players. He gives coaches far too much of a leash throughout his career.
Well, I see him yelling and screaming at players on the sidelines.
But that doesn't mean
when they do something wrong. I mean, you get nothing out of this team. You jump offside 40 times and they're smiling and they just walk past the coach. He says nothing. But I want a coach that has some oomph to him.
You want the guy with the bravado and someone who's going to essentially give it back to players and coaches who aren't living up to their overall potential. My response is you can do that with coaches in the NFL who have been very successful and not having to have essentially be in everyone's face every single day of every single week. Let me ask you this. What are your thoughts on Nick Sirianni?
I think he's decent. I mean, I'm not crazy about him.
He's got 47 wins in 4 years.
No, he had two. He had a good offensive coordinator, and a good defensive coordinator that went away for a year, and then he brought in Fangio and some other guy. I forgot his name.
And again, you can win in so many different ways. Sirianni's got a good relationship with his assistants. He's got a good relationship everywhere else. Sean McVay's got good relationships with his coaches. You can't go into a season and say, we have to win this way because that's how we've done it before. That's how you get into the rut.
I'm not saying you have to win that way. What I'm saying is you can't let them get away with murder. They get away with murder. I mean, Sauce Gardner, does anybody ever tell him to turn around once in a while? I mean, he's got like a 6-foot wingspan. And if he turned around once in a while, he'd probably have 10 more. And the coaching is terrible. It's awful. And this team is totally undisciplined. They've been undisciplined for 3 years.
Sure, they've been undisciplined for 14. Let's call it what it is. They've been undisciplined for 14 years. And tell me, what have they done consistently in terms of their overall hires?
They've gotten defensive coordinators as head coaches. That has nothing to do with it. That's baloney. So when you get an offensive coordinator that just stands there too, like Gase. Was he good? Adam Gase?
Adam Gase should never have gotten a second coaching job. Adam Gase was someone that everyone looked at and said, wait a minute, why are they doing this? If they're choosing between him and Mike McCarthy, this doesn't really make much sense. McCarthy was at least more successful during his tenure. The Gase hire was criticized by most people.
And how do you know it's not going to happen to Ben Johnson and Cohen from Tampa Bay?
This is the date. This is the full thing. Nobody knows. We're hypothesizing what's going to happen at the end of the day, but no one's really going to know until this hire's made, until they start practicing and they start playing. Brian Flores can be hired. Listen, Brian Flores can be hired, and he may be the greatest coach in Jets history. We can't make that assessment right now. All we can talk about is based off of the information we know, the information that we have seen, and say, okay, how can we dictate our opinion of who would be the right hire? I've looked at NFL history and say, listen, the young offensive minds are the way to go. They are able to bring stability. Defensive guys, the Jets have always hired defensive guys. They've hired one offensive coach in 30 years. It hasn't really worked out for them except for Parcells and Ryan. They did it a certain way. Now, the Jets can continue to try and look for those kind of guys, or they can join the modern NFL and say, a lot of teams are starting to go on the offensive side. Let's try our hand in that and see what we can do with a guy that actually knows how to develop the quarterback position.
Well, who's your pick? Who do you like as a head coach?
I don't have a number one pick, but I'm warming up to the idea of Josh McCown. I like Joe Brady, and I like
Josh McGowan never as a head coach. Oh, my God. He was on the podium crying a few years ago. I don't want him as a head coach.
He was on the podium crying because it was his last football game ever as a player. I like that emotion. I think someone who cares like that's exactly what you're saying.
When your team commits 15 penalties, what do you do? Cry at the podium? Come on. I don't know how you look at this. You need the best coaches out there are Grable and Flores. Those are the two best guys. Other than that, I don't see anybody that's any good.
Why?
I just don't like the way they
You
coach.
got to get rid of Yolbrick and then go after Gabriel first. Then I want Queensberry. You got to look at the monkey guy. I like Floney. And maybe Slow Dick in Houston is the answer.
I don't even know who. That wasn't my pick, Slavic or whatever it is. That's Gator made that up. I think they should interview Monken. I'd like to see him. He's an offensive
but
guy.
that's my thing, Peter. You interrupted. I said Monken was at the top of my list. He's always been at the top of my list. He makes a lot of sense too. You got to get the quarterback right. You got to get the quarterback right. And if you don't have the coach that can pair with the right quarterback, you're going nowhere. This team is
we definitely don't have the quarterback right. But even when we have the quarterback right, look what happened this year.
Because you didn't have the coach. You got to marry both together.
We don't have the coach. We don't have the quarterback. We never get anything right. But, I personally, my belief is if they get Flores in here, he'll turn the team around.
I look at that and say that very well could happen. But there's a lot of baggage you got to deal with when it comes to Flores, more so than you would.
Why do you keep saying that? A lot of package because you had an argument with Tua?
It's not about just Tua, Peter. There are multiple reports coming out of how just hostile that work environment was for the assistants, for the front office.
But you know what they were doing to him, right? With Brady, and they were trying to bring Brady in there or something. They wanted him to tank and lose a game. That's why there was hostility there.
Peter, we can talk about the reasons why those reports came out from all the livelong day. They're still there. They're still part of his resume. They're still part of his legacy as a coach. No one's denying that he's a great defensive guy. No one's denying that what he's been able to do with Pittsburgh and Minnesota. The question is, did he learn from those kind of mistakes to gain another head coaching job at this level where they have to win right away? That's the big question here. And there is no guarantee that when the going gets tough, that Flores is not going to revert back to what he did back in Miami.
He's not going to revert. He's learned. Everybody learned from their mistakes. I mean, he has a tough attitude. But I mean, come on, what do you want to do? Pamper the team along? Go ahead.
Peter, what is the clear demarcation, the clear legacy of Belichick assistants?
They all stunk.
No, well, obviously. But the big one always is, my way is right, your way is wrong. I'm the head coach, and I'm going to do it my way. That is how every single Belichick assistant has run things. That's how Flores ran things in Miami. You mean to tell me that the history of what he has shown and the history of Belichick tree disciples, they are able to learn from their mistakes? They haven't shown that. None of them have shown that.
He turned the team around. They stunk until he got there. He turned Miami around. McDaniel got a gift with him.
Peter, they made the playoffs like 2 years before.
Well, listen, he had him at 9-8, and I don't know what the other record was, but he turned the team around. I thought it looked to me like the players liked him and they respected him and they were leery of him, which is good. Like the same way as the Pittsburgh coach, Tomlin. He's not the nicest guy in the world.
It's not, but Tomlin has always been someone who protects his assistants, who defends his assistants over and over and over again. He builds that relationship. Flores in Miami, these reports show that they did not do that.
They didn't. Maybe he didn't like his offensive coordinator. Go fire him.
Nick, your first Rumble, how does it feel?
I feel good. I feel confident. I mean, again, we're arguing about and we're debating about the what is best for a franchise that hasn't won in 14 years. And no one is going to know the right answer to that until this guy is hired.
JJ writes in, Nick Faria is a solid truther, non-credible.
I said from the beginning, the Jets, if they were going to put Robert Saleh in for this season and fire him in week 5, they should have fired him after last year. I don't know what's truthful about that or what makes me a truther about that.
Fiore with a super chat. Hard-nosed and being an a-hole are different. Vrabel is hard-nosed. Glenn is hard-nosed. They're also loved by their players. That's a risk with Flores. We don't know if he's truly learned. Well, that's kind of what the interview process is for here, to find that out.
And again, this comment is absolutely correct. I completely agree with this. Glenn, Vrabel, they're hard-nosed, but they have great relationships with their assistants. They have great relationships with their players. We don't know if Flores has learned from his mistakes, and we won't know until they are in training camp, in the middle of games, during a losing streak. We're not going to know that until later on.
Hit the like button if you're just tuning in. If you tuned in late, we have another raffle every week. Our grand prize, the full-size Jet helmet. So if you want to get the membership, you got a chance to win our best prize, I would say, yet. Rex Ryan says, I'm Team Nick. He's making solid points.
Again, guys, it's just a football debate. This isn't life or death here. We can relax on this.
Oh, it's life or death, all right.
Listen, that's how I used to do on radio and everything else. And I used to be yelling and screaming. And then one of my close friends actually said to me, is like, if you just didn't scream and you made these debates in your normal football world, you'd probably roll through everybody. So my goal has always been, do not yell and scream during football debates like this.
Bo says accountability is the only way to win.
Absolutely.
They do need a coach that holds everyone accountable. Who that guy is, we could debate, but that is a huge issue for this team.
And you can get that for any other different point, from any other different part. It's accountability does not mean you need to be hard-nosed. Accountability means you need to hold people accountable when it matters most. You can do that from a lot of people.
Richard Wacker says Rex Ryan is going to have Nick Faria as his OC.
Yeah, no, thank you. No, thank you. I'm good.
Ladies and gentlemen, comments, questions, super chats. Last chance to get your question in for Nick. D-Rob wants to know how many memberships for a Nick Beastbreaker Rumble. Well, Beastbreaker is not currently on the line, D-Rob, so I don't want to tell you to do anything.
Who is Beastbreaker? I don't. Have I met this guy?
Beastbreaker is a new character on the show. He's a diehard Jet fan, very passionate, and this will give you an idea.
Holy crap, here comes Beastbreaker 666.
Why don't you get your fat ass on a treadmill and go the distance with me?
Is that Bobby Midnight?
I'm not into politics, and I already told you that.
I may be big, but I'm gonna be bad enough to put you out.
Beastbreaker always has some salient points.
That's Beastbreaker, and one day you'll meet him.
Okay. Hey, listen, that works.
Ladies and gentlemen, hit the like button if you haven't already. Leon wants to know, why have the Jets not requested Monken Kingsbury when other teams have, like Vegas?
Again, so we talked about this earlier in the show. Just because they haven't right now doesn't mean they're not going to. They are casting a very wide net. I wouldn't be surprised if they're looking to hire the GM first before they go after some of these additional names like a Monken, like Kingsbury, and some of these other guys. Still, I would stress patience on that. This is the first week of this interview process. There are going to be plenty more moving forward.
Sam writes in, what protects the GM and coaches from the owner?
Wins when it matters most. That's what protects them.
Microfox, are there teams inquiring about trading for Tomlin?
I'm sure people will be always trying to trade for Mike Tomlin, but Pittsburgh is a team that is never going to do it. They've had 3 coaches in 60 years. They are the ultimate safety net in terms of jobs because you're never going to get fired. I remember there was talks back in the early 2010s when the Pittsburgh was going like 8-8 for like 3 straight years, and everyone was worried. Oh, is Mike Tomlin going to be fired? Are they going to move on? It comes back to the original point of it depends on what you want as a head coach, but Pittsburgh is the model franchise in we're going to give our coach whatever time he needs to be successful. And if it's 10 years, it's 10 years. We're going to be patient with this. I don't see them ever trading a coach, let alone their head coach.
B-Sport with the super chat. Love your takes, Nick. We need to be diligent so the next 4 years we Jet fans don't suffer. Also, I love Monken, but do you have any OC/DC picks?
I mean, there's a couple of different names for defensive coordinator you can look out for. I like Anarumo. I completely butchered his last name, the guy from Cincinnati.
Lou Anarumo.
Yeah, I really like him as a coordinator. I know the last year in Cincinnati wasn't good, but the players just weren't there like they were before. You can make the argument that in Cincinnati's run to the Super Bowl, they did it more with defense than it was because of Joe Burrow. That defense was fantastic in their playoff run, and he has a big part of that. I look at him as someone, if I'm hiring Joe Brady or Todd Monken or any offensive guy, I'm looking at Anarumo. And again, I apologize for the butchering the name, but I look at him because he has just been fantastic in Cincinnati.
Ian wants to know, why is no one thinking Spags? I mean, I like the request. I mean, he's been with Andy Reid. He's been in the New York market before. His record as a head coach was bad, but it's also like 15 years ago, a long time ago. So your thoughts on Steve Spagnuolo?
I look at him like I look at Dick LeBeau and Jim Johnson. They had chances to be the head coach for different teams, and it never worked out. So they essentially took the job of a DC, and they became two of the greatest defensive minds in NFL history. I don't see Spagnuolo as a legitimate candidate for head coach. I see him as one of the greatest defensive minds of all time. And much like Vic Fangio, much like Jim Johnson, Dick LeBeau, like we said, they are better suited to run the defense than the entire team.
All right, one last call for Nick. I'll stay on for the rest, but Kyle Clifton has a question for Nick Faria. Hello, Kyle.
Hey, guys. How are you?
How you doing?
Hey, Nick, I agree it's not life and death, but that's certainly spoken like a guy whose team hasn't sucked for 50 years.
Absolutely. Listen, perfectly fair. Perfectly fair. I'm worrying about a playoff game on Sunday. Everyone's worried about their head coach. I get it, but that's my perspective as well. That's just how I look at it.
So I get that we haven't gotten around to asking all the coaches that we're going to interview yet. I get that there are certain coaches through back channels that are declining to interview with us, a la Ben Johnson. Perhaps Kingsbury's in the same boat, maybe Monken's in the same boat. We have no idea, right? However, for a GM candidate like Ryan Cowden, why would we not, in the next day or so, get a request to interview him out there to at least give Vrabel pause before he actually takes this New England job?
Maybe Vrabel told them that he's going to New England.
I think ultimately that he maybe used the Jets to essentially push New England to say, if you want me, you better fire Mayo now. Otherwise, I'm going to be your worst nightmare for the next decade.
Okay. But, I mean, it is fair to say that we have no idea what kind of relationship he has, if any, with Elliot Wolf, right?
Yeah, I think it's more
he's widely respected, Wolf, but like these arranged marriages, I feel like they never work.
No, but at the same time, it's not so much an arranged marriage because it would be Mike Vrabel coming in and essentially telling everyone what they're going to do. He's not going to be in a position again where the GM's going to trade his best offensive weapon for a bucket of baseballs, and he's just going to have to sit and take that like a man. I don't think that's ever
in other words, Elliot, go get me these types of players.
Exactly.
I need them to run this system.
Yeah. I think that's more likely in New England than anything.
All right. That's fair. I appreciate your time, guys.
Kyle, excellent job as always, and it's good to see you're still bricked up.
Oh, it's for the owner's son now, not for the coach.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, Kyle Clifton. Nick, your thoughts on Brick Johnson? Does he have you bricked up as well?
No. I apologize, but absolutely not. I will say that it seems that
Let's get bricked up.
Again, it just depends on what you prefer. I think people need to understand that owners are going to be meddlesome. Every single one is just flat out. They want what's best for the team, but they want it with them being the decision makers. So it doesn't surprise me that Woody Johnson wants his family involved. He wants to be in part of the decision making, and that's what makes this a collaborative approach. It's just a matter of getting to that point to hire the right people to turn this thing around.
The great Bill Fond. Is it possible Monken, Kingsbury, Monken tell the Jets thanks, no thanks?
I mean, it's certainly possible, but I don't think we know that just yet. There's still a lot of uncertainty around these jobs. There are names tied to the team, but they haven't requested interviews yet. Again, it's a time to be patient right now. It's only week one of this process.
Dave Briga, who's as Italian as it gets, says not to seriously consider Spags would be criminal. The man is respected and knows ball. If the Jets don't seriously consider Spags, I've been told Dave Briga is going to tar and feather Woody Johnson and Mike Tannenbaum. Nick, your thoughts on that?
Again, I think he's a great defensive coordinator, but he's really struggled as a head coach, and I think he's more along the lines of the Fangios of the world, where he's never going to get the head coaching role again, but he's going to be the most well-respected DC on the field. So, again, if Spags had picked a different team to coach back in the day, 15 years ago, maybe things are different, but you can't ignore the overall record, and it's not out of the realm of possibility to say that defensive-minded guys are only good for defensive-minded personnel issues.
Nick, Tonight starts the stretch of 5 days of playoff football, baby. Tonight, college football semifinal. Tomorrow, college football semifinal. And then wild card weekend, baby. Your thoughts on the slate? And, of course, your team, the Philadelphia Eagles, taking on Jordan Love and the Packers.
Yep, I'm going to be puking all day Sunday. So if you guys are expecting to see any writing publications from me, pick again. Not going to happen. But listen, this is a great slate. I think the Notre Dame Penn State game is going to be awesome. Ohio State Texas is really intriguing. The Saturday matchups are pretty cool because you can look at the Chargers. That's a team that hasn't been able to beat the Chiefs, but if they beat Houston, that's most likely where they're going. Could they finally get the monkey off their back? Steelers, Baltimore, awesome playoff matchup. And then, of course, Monday night, Vikings, Rams. I mean, that could be the playoff game of the year. A lot of exciting times. This is it. We're here. Playoff time, playoff season. Plenty of bets to go out. Plenty of people to debate in terms of which teams are better. And a lot of legacies are going to be on the line this year over many other years.
Eagles win Sunday?
No, absolutely not.
You think they're going to lose?
I will never, ever think my team is going to win. It saves me from getting my heart broken. I'm always preparing for the loss.
Wow. They better win. Otherwise, Nick Sirianni, is he out of a job, Nick? Your thoughts?
No, I don't think so. And I think that would be moronic. I mean, the guy's won 47 games in 4 years. And people will be like, well, the roster's talented around him, but that's still 47 wins. No coach outside of George Seifert's been able to do that.
I'd take him as a Jet fan.
I'm sure you would. He's built a culture. He's built the winning culture.
Nick, thanks for hopping on. Good job facing off against the Peter Castro in your first ever Rumble. Yeah, you did well today. And no one paid up the 20 memberships to get you out of here. So that's how you know you did a great job.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen,
now
Nick
I gotta
Faria.
go buy my lunch.
Nick Faria at his weekly spot on the show, talking Jets, the coach search, all that and more. Please click the like button if you haven't already. Comments, questions, super chats. We'll cut the line. There's 600 of you in here right now. So I appreciate all of you. Let's see. Let me make sure we're caught up on super chats. I believe we are. We'll get to more of your calls shortly. There is also something I wanted to play for the people out there, so we'll get to that. And we're always seeking more memberships, so keep that in mind as well. See the hat I'm wearing? It's a Hugo House hat. If you want one, 15% off. Code Asman at checkout. Get the hat that Aaron Rodgers is always wearing, plus many other athletes, entertainers, and celebrities. HugoHouse.com. Promo code Asman at checkout for 15% off. Let's say hello right now to a guy who needs no introduction, but I'd argue he has probably one of our best introductions.
I got my Iron Uji. I hope you like my Jets take. You know they call me David T. It's not easy for me to see, but if you bring me full stream, you might like what I had to say. I'll need to get real damn close, cause my vision is dog shit. Hi, Jake.
Hey, David.
Hey, you guys talking about Mike Tomlin and, each and every team would probably, trade every draft pick for him or whatever. But it reminded me of years ago, after Bill Cowher retired as a young man, whenever one of our team, my friends, football fans and all, whenever one of our teams fired their head coach, the next guy was going to be Bill Cowher. They wanted Bill Cowher, and that went on for years. So you kind of talk about Mike Tomlin in the same light, so it's fun to talk about. But I agree. Dave Briga, Spagnola is his name. I agree. He kind of intrigues me a little bit. So that would be interesting, for at least an interview or whatever. But Peter and Nick and you, when you were talking about Flores, I agree with Peter. I think they need a disciplinarian. I agree with Nick, because he has a background on Flores, what he presumes, might happen if he becomes the head coach. And then I agree with you because of, he has the background, and you learn from your mistakes and all that kind of stuff. But as far as disciplinarian coach, hey, Parcells and the ones that have had success, and maybe they are drill sergeants, and not the greatest personalities in the world, but and the bottom line is you're a professional athlete, and if you win, isn't it all worthwhile?
I think they need a coach that is not like a hard ass or discipline. You know what I need? They need someone that can maximize the most from the players. Like, they don't need someone that's like a quote unquote players coach or someone that's like a dictator type of coach. They need someone who players respect. That coach doesn't need to be loved, right? Because I think guys love Silo, they love Ulbrich, but they walked all over him. They need someone that the players respect. I don't need them to be loved or feared. I need that coach to be respected and maximize the most from the players they have.
It's kind of like our dads. My dad's not here anymore, but Stern and all that. But unconditional love and but don't when you're growing up, and don't disrespect them. That's not, you're not going to get away with that kind of thing.
Good point here from Leon, who says, I agree with David T. And then Jerome wrote in, I see your point. So it sounds like your points are resonating right now, David.
Thank you. I do the best I can with what I got. And just one other thing on Flores. If they do hire Flores, offensively, the offensive coordinator, I mean, wouldn't you think it would have to be like a very experienced offensive guy that's been around for years, like a Peterson coming over and being the offensive coordinator, rather than bringing a real young guy that doesn't quite have the experience.
Yeah, I think they need to hire an experienced OC if you're going to go with a first-time head coach. And even to your point on Flores, his biggest issue was getting the OC situation right. So probably hire someone that's been a successful OC in the league if you're Brian Flores. I think that would be a wise move. Or maybe you take McCown with you because you watched him up close, and Kevin O'Connell was like, this guy's going to be a star coach in this league. So Flores,
Right.
I think will have a much better grasp on what he's looking for with his entire staff, not even just offense, if he got the job second time around.
Yeah, and one other question, and you guys might have talked about it, I might have missed it. Nick, his preference is an offensive-minded head coach. And did he give you the reasoning for that? I might have missed it. You might have discussed it.
Why he doesn't like Flores, you said?
His preference for a head coach is always the offensive-minded
Yes.
coach. I mean, is it that he just doesn't believe a defensive-minded coach could be a good head coach?
He just thinks that's where the NFL is going, where it's all offense all the time.
The way the game's changed.
Exactly. Look, I'd prefer offense too, but you got to deal with what candidates are out there. It's not like you don't want to hire Arthur Smith because he's an offensive guy if you think Brian Flores or Aaron Glenn are better candidates. My number one guy is Vrabel. He's technically a defensive-minded coach, but the guy had success as a coach and hired two offensive coordinators who became head coaches. So to me, it's not about which side of the ball. It's about the coaching staff too.
Right. And the last thing, I'm all on board with Nick as far as the patience train, and I'm enjoying it. I'm having fun with it. And because of the fact that they do need a new general manager and coach, and there's so many candidates and all the discussions and everything. So I'm on the patience train.
Look, I'm glad you're on that train. There's a couple trains you could be on, Dave. You could be on the lane train. You could be on the patience train. So I see what you did there. Well done.
Thank you. I do the best with what I got, Jake.
Ladies and gentlemen, the great, and I mean this, the great David T.
I got my Iron Uji
I hope you like my Jets take. You know they call me David T. It's not easy for me to see, but if you bring me full stream, you might like what I had to say. I'll need to get real damn close, cause my vision is dog shit.
Thank you very much, David. A lot of people talking about Brian Flores. I know Ryan Fitzpatrick has had some comments on this. Here's Fitzpatrick on his podcast talking about Brian Flores.
Flores has been a really hot name, and I think the further removed we get from his tenure in Miami, the more people kind of forget about how that ended, and the better his name becomes. You know, he went to Pittsburgh and got to learn under Mike Tomlin and see how he led. And now he's been in Minnesota with Kevin O'Connell. I think the interesting thing with Brian Flores, when I think about him and being able to play under him for a few years, is which version of Brian Flores are we getting? And in year one with Miami, take you back to that year. I mean, Miami got rid of every good player they had. And that was the jokingly called the tank for two a year. But I'll tell you, halfway through that year, we hadn't won a game yet, and there was a shift in the way that he was approaching his job. He was likable. He was relatable. He demanded a lot out of the players, but he was also able to get the best version of his players, and I really appreciated him for that. But as his tenure went on in Miami, he kind of became unrecognizable. A lot of the staff he brought over from New England, that was where he cut his teeth in the NFL, was there for 15 plus years as an assistant. But I think he's going to have a really hard time if you're interviewing him as a head coach. I think in the interviews, he'll be likable, he'll be relatable. But when people say, okay, give me somebody from Miami that coached under you as a reference so we can talk to them, I think he burned a lot of bridges there. I think he alienated himself from the entire staff. Instead of what you were just talking about, having the humility to ask questions, to collaborate. I think by the end of his time there, he became a dictator. He ruined a lot of those relationships that he built up through the NFL. And his ego grew so big that there wasn't any room for anyone else. And so that was why he got released at the end of his tenure in Miami. I hope, we love Mike Tomlin as a leader. And I know you have some experience with Kevin O'Connell. That whole collaboration thing, I think that's, McVay and the people that come up through that system, for Flores to be able to watch Kevin for a year. I hope that helps him.
Yeah.
Because he certainly needs some help in that department of, not necessarily being a dictator and having a collaboration with the whole staff and having a lot of different voices.
That's why I think he's worth a second chance. He was successful in his first go around. It's not like he was a failure. Tomlin hired him. O'Connell hired him. His players now love him there. Give him a chance. I'm sure he has learned. Luis has gifted a membership. He is in on our next raffle.
It's the Asmaniac membership raffle. For every membership gifted, you receive one ticket entered in the raffle to win epic prizes.
One ticket entered for Luis. He wants the full-size Jet helmet. Luis, you got a chance at it. I believe in you. All right, more of your calls right now. Let's say hello to Yeti, who's next. Hey, Yeti.
Yo, hey, what's up, man? I didn't think you'd get to me this quick. How you doing, man?
I'm living the dream, Yeti.
I know. Yeah, right. Let me ask you a question. What's your honest take on Fitzpatrick as a quarterback from us? Did you like him? Did you hate him?
I mean, I like him.
How do you feel about how do you feel about him right now?
How do I feel about him? He's not my favorite person. I appreciate what he did in 2015 until the last game of the season.
Right. Yeah. I don't know, man. I really like Fitz. I do. Like, there's just something about maybe it's the beard. I don't know. But there's something about the dude that I like. I think, and he's so smart. I thought he would go into coaching. I didn't think he'd go into broadcasting. But, maybe we'll see him coach at some point. If he ever wants to come back to the Jets, I take him back. But, maybe as an OC. Maybe as an OC.
I don't know if he wants to go into coaching. I think he's good with being a
broadcaster. Yeah, no, he's set. I think, he's obviously making tons of money, so he's happy what he's doing.
And he made a lot of money as an NFL player. He doesn't need the money.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, yeah. And he'd only probably get scrutinized if he did. And people would talk bad about him if he had a losing season, if he did. But I don't know. So yeah, head coaching talk, man. I just wanted to hop in real quick. I'm a huge homer. I think everybody knows that. Um, I want Rex. I want Josh. I want Jim Leonard. That's my dream team. It's a
You want
huge homer dream team,
what is it?
but
You want Rex and then who?
Josh McCown and Jim
Uh,
Leonard.
Okay, so Rex is the head coach, McCown's
Yep.
the OC, and Jim Leonard's the DC. I do think Jim Leonard would be
Yeah.
would have a prominent role on Rex's staff because Leonard's in coaching now. He's with the Broncos currently. I could see that. I don't know if there's any connection to McCown and Rex, but I could see
Yeah,
that.
there isn't. You're right. I mean, they had what about at least 5 years separate between them. Oh
Yeah, I
no,
don't know.
like
Maybe. Yeah, I'm not
8.
saying with the Jets. I'm saying
Yeah.
like they know each other through just being in NFL circles. I don't know. I mean, I would take Rex over some of the other candidates they've spoken to, but Rex is not in my top 3 or 4 right now.
Yeah, I get everything. I get all the arguments. I get all the negative sides of Rex and whatever. But so the hard thing for me is I know that Vrabel and Flores are great coaches, but they've always been enemies of mine. They've never been somebody I pulled for. Vrabel's whole career is somebody that I've rooted against because he was a Patriot and a Titan. Like he was just never in a Jet circle, and I don't think he would come here. He might.
What's wrong with the Titans? There's no Jet Titan rivalry.
Oh,
that I
yeah,
know
that's
of.
true. That's true. I mean, I have no affiliation. I mean, the Titans are just the Titans. They're over here. They have nothing to do with us. So I don't know. That's my take on Vrabel. And Flores, I get it. He's a badass. I like his old school mentality. I like putting people in check and saying you suck if you suck, or prove me you don't suck. Like, I like that, but I don't know. Again, would he want to be a Jet? I guess at this point, the guys are going to take jobs. But
Yeah, Yeti. What's up with you thinking that they have to have Jet connections to want the job? It's an NFL head
I
coaching
don't
position,
know.
man.
I don't know. I'm a Jets fan. I just want to bring the. I
What
want to
was
bring the squad back
What was
together.
Robert Saleh's connection to the Jets or Adam
True
Gase's
that.
connection
I
to
never
the
loved
Jets?
Salah though. True
Or
that. I think he's a great DC, but I never wanted him as a head coach. But
I understand, but my point
Yeah.
is like this is not like college football where like guys who grow up typically like in the area where they're from might want to play for the hometown school. Like it's professional football, man. Like if the Jets hired if the Jets hired like Brian Flores, like he would want the job because it's an NFL job. And yeah, he happens to be from Brooklyn, but that's not the only reason why I like him.
right,
You
I don't know.
If they hired Mike Vrabel, I'd be ecstatic. I don't care if he played for the Patriots as a player.
I'm GMing like old school Madden. Like I just want to bring the squad back together. I don't know. I whatever happens. I mean, if we get Flores or if we get Vrabel, I mean, I'll be happy. They're great candidates. I think they are. It's just I don't know. I think Rex could do something for this team and inspire a little spark, bring a little something going on.
I like
That's all I'm
Rex.
saying.
I just, he's been. I didn't love his answer the other day when they asked him about his coaching staff, and he was like, it's going to take time, but we're going to have the best staff. That's not what I wanted to hear, Rex. You've been out of the league for 10 years. You don't have an idea on what you're going to do for your offensive coordinator, or some of the guys you'd want to bring in to be part of your coaching staff. Like that's a problem.
Yeah. Now I will say Rex has been out of the league for 10 years. That is true. But what has he been doing every day for the last 10 years? Watching every team play, analyzing football for the last 10 years. He's not going to come in and be the same coach. He's going to change his ways slightly. He's going to tweak them, and he's going to approach the game a little bit differently because he knows players are different now than what it was, in 2010. So I don't know. That's my take. I think Rex is going to be awesome. And get to other callers if you got them, man. I only want 2 minutes of your time. Love you, buddy.
Yeti, you're a great man. I appreciate you calling in. We need more Yeti. All right. Next time you call in, I'm gonna go grab my Yeti mug and I'm just gonna drink from that the entire call. Sound good?
Right on, man. Talk to you later.
You got it, Yeti. Appreciate it. Look, the Jets have what? They put in requests or interviewed. They will interview 14 candidates. Like Rex is probably like 4 or 5 for me. Right? Like I'd have in my head of Matt Nagy and Ron Rivera, Arthur Smith, Slow Dick. I would have him ahead of Spags, and I like Spags, but I'd put him ahead of Spags. Vance Joseph, Darren Rizzi, Brian Greasy. But I would take Vrabel over Rex. I would take Flores over Rex. I mean, they haven't even requested Gruden or Carroll, which sucks. I mean, honestly, I probably would take McCown over Rex. I know that might be crazy, but at least McCown's an offensive guy if we're going to take that big swing. I liked the idea of Rex more than most at the beginning, but it was contingent on him having an idea on what his coaching staff would look like. And that answer the other day on the radio really rubbed me the wrong way. I would really need to know what Rex's plan would be. C writes in, delusional Panthers fans think they're getting G5. I don't even know what you're talking about, C, but Garrett Wilson, I don't believe is being traded, so I am not going to talk about it. More of your calls right now, ladies and gentlemen. Joining us on the Gus Buster Umbrella Hotline is a guy that this chat knows very well. Love him or hate him, you care.
Knockouts don't matter if you land enough jabs. You can do music.
It's funny, the chat thought I was going to Beast Breaker, but I threw a little curve, and I went to Gary.
You did. You zigged when they thought you were going to zag.
But guess what?
What?
I'm going back to zagging.
Holy crap, here comes Beast Breaker 666.
Why don't you get your fat ass on a treadmill and go the distance with me?
Is that Bobby Midnight?
I'm not into politics, and I already told you that.
I may be big, but I'm going to be bad enough to put you out.
Beast Breaker always has some salient points.
What's up, Beast? Beast? Beast Breaker? Unleash the beast. You're on. Beast. Beast Breaker. Beast. Beast Breaker. Assemble.
Joe Douglas should have been fired 2 days before he was hired. You can do music.
And we're back to where we started. Hello, Gary.
We got in full circle. I had a couple of things. At first, I thought Nick Faria wasn't saying that he wasn't into Flores. He was just, that was the perception of the league. But by the end of his take, he's not into Flores, right? He thinks that would be a bad hire. Because at first, it just seemed like, I'm not giving my opinion. I'm just telling you what his perception around the league is. But it did seem like he would be against that Flores hiring for the Jets. Was I reading that right?
Yeah, I think he would be against it. I think he wants an offensive guy.
Look, if we lived in a perfect world, I would like to try an offensive guy too. I just don't know who that guy is. I want a guy with experience, and I want a guy who's been a coach of a winning team. So to me, that was Gruden. You want to go Gruden? I would love to do that, but that doesn't seem realistic. I would love to go Gruden. But
yeah, I don't know why they're not. I don't know why they're not even like interviewing him. That's what's very upsetting.
Is it too toxic? I mean, is it like his lawsuit? Is it just too toxic to touch?
I mean, Brian Flores has a lawsuit, and a bunch of teams have requested him. Like, I don't know. I think it's crazy that you're not going to talk to John Gruden.
I didn't know this, but Peter Castro pointed out, and I was going to say, I would love Flores as the HC and McCown as the OC. I think that could work. And I still think it can work. But was he really crying at the podium? Did that actually happen? That's real? It must be real.
Who, McCown?
McCown?
I don't even remember the incident. I'm sure he got.
I don't remember it either.
At the end of his NFL career, who cares? Because the guy showed emotion, you can't hire him to be the coach or the OC.
Well, you're the skipper of the ship, Jake. Would you get on a ship where the skipper is crying? It's like, guy, keep it together. It's a football game. Like, let's keep this together here.
It was his retirement. It was his retirement speech. People get emotional.
I would have to see it. It's not.
So if Josh McCown cried, that would disqualify him from a spot as the head coach or OC of the Jets in your mind, Gary? Is that what you're saying?
Did he? Was it a tear in his eye, like that, or was he like crying like an infant? Like if he's crying like an infant, yeah, you can't skip for 53 men. You can't. As an OC, I don't know. Like, I gotta really talk to you. Like, you're crying? What is that solving? Like you're sitting there crying.
Dude, all these guys cry at the end of their careers when they retire. Eli Manning got choked up at his press conference too.
Getting choked up is one thing. Okay, as I say, is it a tear in his eye or is he sobbing? If he's
Did you have a problem with C.J. Stroud tearing up when Tank Dell got hurt a couple of weeks ago in that game against the Chiefs?
I like C.J. Stroud. It's not a great. You just get okay. He's gonna be all right. Get back in the huddle. We got a game to win. Right? You're the skipper. Right? Like I said this about Caleb too when he was crying to his mom after they lost. It's like this. You're supposed to run the ship. You're supposed to have the weight of the world on your shoulders, and you're crying. I don't know. I don't think it's without seeing it. I don't even remember this vaguely. But Nick agreed that it happened, so I'm guessing it did. Him crying
at his last press conference, I think when he announced his retirement. Go watch it and call back. All right, you let us know what you saw.
Passion good, emotion bad. Passion good, emotion bad. You're the skipper. Keep
Dan writes, and I cry every time Gary comes in.
Right, and that's why I'm not hiring you to be. If you can't keep it together because someone said things you don't like, you can't be HC of the
Gary,
NYJ.
am I allowed to cry if my dog dies?
So your wife, your daughter's crying, and you're crying with them. Someone's got to skipper the ship. Someone's got to keep it together, and it's got to be the head
You never
coach.
cried during a sad moment in your life, emotional moment?
It's a football game, Jake. It's a football game, right? Your mom didn't die suddenly.
How long were you working up this batshit take of yours? Like, you haven't had one in a while, so I'm just wondering, like, how long were you like, man? All the talk's been about Beastbreaker and his takes. Let me try and come up with something that's asinine to get the chat to start talking about me again.
That a grown man who you want to skip with the ship is breaking down and sobbing. That's a hot take. That's a trash take.
Kevin writes in, Gary does not have emotions.
I have emotions, but you just don't show them. You play it close to the vest. Like you guys, I said this about Salah. You guys wanted him to yell and scream and have hissy fits on the sidelines. My favorite thing about him and Bowles is they didn't do that. Salah did it a little bit. Bowles was stoic as can be. Is that hurting?
That's not a good thing. How is that a good thing? You want guys who have passion, who are fired up, who can
passion
lead.
Good, emotion bad. Passion good, emotion bad. Passion is a good thing. Be passionate about what you do. Don't be emotional about what you do. Crying or cursing at someone out because they didn't do what they were supposed to do doesn't make anything better. Bowles doesn't do that. How's Bowles doing in Tampa?
Fine. He's doing okay. What are you talking about? This is, I mean, I can't even say it's one of your worst takes because you've had so many ones that are just awful. But this is a new one for you, Gary. You have an issue with Josh McCown tearing up in his final press conference.
I was going to call and say he should be the OC. Him as OC, Flores as HC, I think is a dream team. But look, I'm not taking that. I gotta go watch this. I gotta go watch this press conference.
Filling you with all the French butter has clogged Gary's tear duct.
He's a Texan too. I want to like him. He's from Gainesville, Florida, right? I want to like him.
Sam writes in, send Gary to the hall. You guys know the bounty price. 10 memberships. Gary's gone.
10 memberships. You could do it. You could do it for 5. You want to put me in a hole for just the show? You could do it for 5.
I'll put you in the hole, but then you got to call back in after you watch the McCown presser so we can get your thoughts.
I'm calling on the later show?
Or the show if I'm still on.
All right, you want to put me in the hole for 5, and I'll probably call back on. I got some work I got to do. My flight got canceled. I was supposed to get. I'm backed up.
Why'd your flight get canceled?
What was that?
Why'd your flight get canceled?
We're having an ice storm in Dallas.
Oh.
So I got to fly in tomorrow. My brother's supposed to fly to San Antonio today from New York, and that's not canceled yet. But he doesn't have a flight till 9. I'm like, that's gonna get canceled too, my man. But
Nate writes in, Gary, what's worse, emotion or a head of lettuce?
Ooh. Oh, wow. Emotion. The head of lettuce will kill you slowly. The emotion will kill you quickly. Emotion.
We know you're afraid of salad.
I'm not afraid of it because I don't eat it.
Dave writes in, Gary all over the map.
What about that's all over the map? I said, the skipper of a ship, would you get on an aircraft where the pilot is crying?
In what context?
I don't know. You get on the plane and the pilot's just sitting in the pilot's chair crying like an infant. Would you say, "Oh yeah, fly me across the country, please"?
this to me is not even remotely similar to Josh McCown being emotional at his press conference where he announced his retirement.
So what happens if something bad goes on? He's going to start crying on the sidelines. Like if you get a bad call.
How do you think it's even close to being the same thing?
You're supposed to be stoic. You're a grown man. You're supposed to be able to curb that. You're supposed to be able to control your emotions. As a, what is he, like 50 years old at this point? 45 years old? You can't control yourself? You're sitting there crying, sobbing because it's your last football game? I don't really I don't think that this is a hot take. I think
Ladies and gentlemen, sports fans of all ages, welcome to the event of the year, the moment you've all been waiting for. This is the Asmaniac Rumble.
Doesn't need
Yo,
to.
Purple, what's up, my man?
What up? No, it's not a rumble. Just to give you an analogy, hypothetical situation. What if a top military commander, he cried at his daughter's wedding? Does that make him not a top military commander anymore? Because he cried at his daughter's wedding?
Okay, so I have a daughter. I get this. So there's this crying, sobbing is an issue. If you have tears in your eye because you're overwhelmed with joy, okay, that happens. So I got to see the video. I don't. Do you remember this with McCown crying? I don't even vaguely.
I honestly don't remember it, but
yeah,
someone's emotions about a career or whatever, to me, does not make them a leader of men. Doesn't.
I disagree 100. You get on a plane, the pilot is sobbing, crying. Are you gonna let him fly you across the country?
If the pilot is sobbing and crying right there, no. And that's the same thing would go with if there's a guy that's trying to lead me into battle and he's crying or whatever, his mind is not right. But that doesn't mean that's in that moment, right? Just because the pilot cried last year or 10 years ago because he left a job and he had friends or whatever, I have no problem with that. So it depends on what the crying is. You know what I mean? If it's in that moment, yeah, I don't want him in charge of my life or anybody else's. But I mean, if it's a year ago or whatever, who the fuck do I care?
I'm not saying it's make or break here, but I gotta watch. If he's sobbing, and that's the image that I got when Nick agreed that he was crying. I don't remember this even at all. I gotta go. If he's sitting there crying, it's you're not emotionally stable. You're not stoic enough, right? There's gonna be goods and bads. There's gonna be ups and downs. Life is a fight. You have to stay even keel, right? That. This is why.
Well, I mean,
ladies and gentlemen, sports fans of all ages, welcome to the event of the year, the moment you've all been waiting for. This is the Asmaniac Rumble.
Oh, this is
Hang on,
Jake.
Hold up. Wait, what's up, Gary?
What up, Jake? How you doing, man?
Good. All right. So I just wanted to say about the emotion thing, right? Have you seen Rex Ryan on the Pivot yet? Have you seen his Pivot interview with Ryan Clark?
I actually want to watch it. I'll watch it.
It's good. He shows emotion, but I feel like that's what the team needs is emotion. When Saleh gets up on the thing and they ask him every question in the book, and he's just same thing with Ober. Yeah, we'll take a hard look. We'll take a hard. I don't want. You know what I mean? It's too by the book. We need New York fans. They want that emotion, man. They want the team's got to be tough in the trenches.
Yeah.
They got to. They
I
play
don't
with
get
no
that. It's only in New York where stoicism is bad, and you guys want someone who's throwing a hissy fit. I don't understand how that's beneficial.
No, but not a hissy fit, not a hissy fit, but you can't get ran over by the media. You know what I'm saying? You can't answer.
What you show the media, I always say, you can lie to the media, you can't lie to the guys. You can sit there and lie to the media. I don't care what you tell the media. If I was dealing with the New York media, I wouldn't always want to be front forward with them too, right? But if I'm dealing with the guys in the locker room, that's different. You can't lie to them.
Yeah, but I don't think Rex would lie. I'm talking about Rex. I don't think Rex would lie. Rex just tells it how it is, man. And every person that ever played for Rex, regardless of his record, they all say he's their favorite coach. Thomas Jones said it. Bart Scott said it. Willie Colon said it. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think they need someone that's going to come in and get especially if we're keeping Rodgers, we can't bring in a quarterback or we can't bring in a coach that's going to get ran over if we're keeping Rodgers. You know what I'm saying? For the next year, we can't just bring in a quiet dude. What's up?
The guys I liked, right? I'll put Groom, but Groom
Yep.
just I don't think that's realistic. So Rabel,
It's not,
and
but I
Flores.
love him too, but it's not.
Yeah. So
Okay.
I'll just the two that I think are realistic: Rabel and Flores. Do you think they'd be at a podium crying?
I don't know, but they'd show, but they wouldn't be per se politically correct with the media. You know what I mean? They wouldn't pull that stuff that Ulbrich pulls with the, yeah, we'll take a hard look. Yeah, we'll take a hard look. Yeah, we'll watch the film. Well, what are you watching? We just lost 40-0. I mean, we're a cold weather team up north. We get beat up in the trenches. You know what I'm saying? We get ran all over every game. I think we might have led the league in penalties after Ulbrich took over. It's brutal.
Yeah, but do you think the reason why we led the league in penalties is because Salah isn't emotional? It's because he has no control of the locker room and doesn't run a tight ship. I mean, the reason isn't because he wasn't emotional enough. That's not why they led the league in penalties every year. Like, that's not the reason.
Yeah, I get you. I guess you could say that, but behind closed doors, we don't know what anybody looks like because no one's on the team. But I just mean, in general, the way that they perceive themselves to the media is like they just get ran all over. I don't. You get what I'm trying to say? Like if they bring in a guy like Josh McCown, I love Josh McCown, or if they bring in like a first timer like Slow Dick or something, and they're in New York with the media, then it's all
I
over.
just don't want to. I don't want a first time. I don't want to. I would.
No, I
take
don't
it with
either.
a guy like Munkett. I don't want a first time guy. We need someone
I don't either.
who can stop this ship from sinking. Like if it's Brable,
Mm-hmm.
if it's Flores, like we know that they can. Like I was even like Ron Rivera. It's
I don't
not
mind.
my first choice. But I don't think it's a terrible choice. Like you could do worse.
Me too. I don't mind Ron Rivera. I get the league it's a recency league, and everyone's what have you done for me lately? But Ron Rivera still has what 5-6 playoff appearances, a 15-1 season,
He went
a
to the
Super
playoffs
Bowl
with Tyler
appearance.
Heineke. Yeah, like
That's what I'm saying.
Chicken with pasta is worse than peanut butter with sandwich.
All right, I had to come back. Ron Rivera, no.
It's not my first choice. I would take him over Aaron Glenn.
No,
or guys who haven't coached before.
Oh, Ron Rivera, no.
What makes you think? Look, Glenn might be a great head coach. I just can't risk it.
I'll take
right
my
now.
chance. Ron Rivera is a has-been. He's done it enough. He wasn't that good. It wasn't that
But
good.
he wasn't that bad either. Look, if we can just go 9-8, 9-8.
Why are we giving Ron Rivera his third opportunity to be a head coach? I think he's had like 6 winning seasons his entire career.
You, not you. So when I say you, I mean y'all as a community, not Jake. Y'all want Rex Ryan, who hasn't had a winning season in how long?
Yeah, because it's different with Rex. Rex knows the owner. He can handle Woody. He knows the market. I had all these questions about Ron Rivera. I don't want Rex necessarily either. Rex is not in my – I just said Rex is probably
I'm saying not you. I'm saying y'all as the community collectively, Jet community, is fine with Rex
Also,
Ryan
are you
largely.
a flat earther? The chat is speculating that you are.
No, I'm not a flat earther.
So
In
is
Isaiah
the
40,
earth flat?
No, in Isaiah 40, it says the earth is suspended by nothing and is spherical. So, no, I'm not a flat earther. I don't know where that comes from.
Well, people are speculating that you are a flat earther.
I don't, because I wanted to hire Brian Flores. I mean, I don't. Peter Castro wants him more than I do. Is Peter Castro a flat earther too? I don't understand the correlation.
It was Hennessy Heisman who first brought up the possibility of you being a flat earther.
Is Flores a flat earther?
No, he's saying you are.
Well, why would I be a flat earther? Because I want to.
Because your
takes
takes are batshit many times.
Oh, Flores. I want Flores. That's okay. Don't you want Flores too? Isn't he high on your list?
Brian Flores, if I can't get Ron Rivera, is if I can't get Mike Vrabel, would be my number one.
Are you flat earther?
No, I'm not.
Okay, I don't understand.
It's because of your take on crying that it was equated to you being a flat earther.
Oh, it was based. Okay.
Jay says, so the best is when you know what people are insinuating and then you pretend like you don't know on purpose.
What was I was sitting here talking about Flores. Okay, it was because I don't think the skipper of a ship should be crying. That somehow makes me a flat earther.
Do you believe the moonwalk was a skit? Joe wants to know.
Yeah, that's fake as hell.
Is it?
Oh, that's so fake.
You think so?
100%.
Well, how come?
100%.
So you don't think we actually went to the moon?
No, absolutely not. No.
Really?
Yeah, 100%. That's fake. That was filmed in a Hollywood basement.
So have we ever
So
been
you
to
go
the
back
moon
to the
or
moon.
no?
You did it in 1969, and then what was the last one? 1971. That's the last time I went to the moon. 50 years ago. Let's do it again. The technology is far greater today than it was in 1971, the last time we went to the moon. Let's go back, right? It didn't happen, and all the telemetry data just happened to go missing. That's just all gone. The whole, I mean, no, that's fake as hell. That's totally fake.
So
No going to the moon.
So have we ever been to the moon or no?
No, I mean, like landed and walked on the moon.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
I'm not the only one that thinks this. Polls show like 40% of people agree with me. Like this is totally fake.
Nate says he was on the moon last week.
All right, cool.
Who shot JFK?
I don't want to get your channel a strike, man. I don't want to get you kicked off YouTube. I'm not getting into it.
Who shot JFK?
We'll talk off air.
I don't think you'd get my channel removed from YouTube. There's a lot of
I don't want to
JFK
get you a
videos
strike. I
on-
don't want to get you demonetized. It's a football channel. Let's talk football. I guess it's a football channel.
You want to talk football? I got just the guy on the line right now that always wants to talk football. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time.
Holy crap, here comes Beast Breaker 666.
Why don't you get your fat ass on a treadmill and go the distance with me?
Is that Bobby Midnight?
I'm not into politics, and I already told you that.
I might be big, but I'm gonna be bad enough to put you out.
Beast Breaker always has some salient points.
Hello, Beast.
All right. Good morning, America. Hey, how are we? Can we all just say, hey, I know it's playoff time, but not for us.
Beast, your internet, man. You got to call back in with a better internet connection.
That was anticlimactical.
Yeah.
Yeah, I felt like we were building up to a crescendo there, and then his internet died. I was interested to see what the Beast had to say. You know,
I
love
want
him
his
or
take
hate
on the
him,
moon.
he's got your attention.
I want his take on the moon landing.
I think he's going to agree with me. I don't know though. Like, you know, that there's people of all else, all you know, that agree with me or think I'm insane for thinking the moon landing is fake. It's really like you can't like target like.
Why would we fake it? I don't that to me I don't understand.
Well, because Kennedy said that we were going to go there by the end of the decade, which was the 60s, and then we were going to beat the Russians. The Russians have already, you know, orbited the moon, allegedly, apparently. I don't know. I think that might be fake too. I don't know so much about that. So we had to beat the Russians there. The same reason why Rocky had to knock out Drago. We had to beat the Russians. Had to happen.
Dave Briga thinks you're nuts for thinking the moon landing
fine.
wasn't real.
That's fine. That's fine. Just go back there and pull the flag off, and then it's so easy to prove me wrong. Go back there, take the flag, bring it back. It's so easy to prove me wrong.
Why would we want to take it back? We want to make sure that the aliens know America was here.
So you can put another flag there. The
No,
one that you put on the moon, 1969. Put a new one up there.
No, I don't. I like the OG flag. Why are we messing with it?
Because it did, yeah. Because there's no flag up there. You know, and I know it.
No, I think there's a flag up there.
All right. What makes you think that?
Because I don't think we lied about the moon landing.
All right, not that, but
What
lies
makes you
you
think?
gotta-
What makes you think we didn't go there?
I generally disbelieve everything my government tells me until proven otherwise. It's not all lies, but my working assumption is anything my government tells me is probably a lie. And
I
then
see.
you work from there, right? Like you're either going to assume something is the truth or it's not the truth.
Dave Briga has written in, "You're insane."
That's all right. That's okay. I mean, I went to the moon in an extraordinary claim. I'd like to see your evidence for that claim that we went to the moon, other than I saw it on TV, and the guy from the moon called the president. You can't make a cell phone. You can't make a cell phone call in 2025 from 40,000 feet above. They made a phone call from the moon. All right.
What are your thoughts on Bigfoot?
I don't really know much about Bigfoot. I don't really know anything about Bigfoot, Jay Quest.
Okay.
Although, Jay Quest, I went to Speaker Bakery by you, and the cannolis were fantastic. It was a solid 8.5 cannoli, 8.5 cannoli. Fantastic.
I'm worried about Dave Briga showing up and punching you in the face for questioning the moon landing.
That's all right. Like I said, the angry boomer crowd loves the moon landing. I don't think it's real, but I understand why he doesn't like me saying it's not real. It's because we beat the Soviets. We beat the commies. Did we though? Did we really go there?
Holy crap, here comes Beastbreaker 666.
Why don't you get your fat ass on a treadmill and go the distance with me?
Is that Bobby Midnight?
I'm not into politics, and I already told you that.
I might be big, but I'm gonna be bad enough to put you out.
Beastbreaker always has some salient points.
There you go. How's the internet, Beast?
Good afternoon, New York, and hello, America. We need.
Beast,
See that
gotta,
guy? That's how half of y'all want your head coach to act when a play doesn't go right, right? I just don't know what that fixes.
Beast, I need you to call back in, better internet connection, get on better Wi-Fi, use your phone, use data if you're on Wi-Fi and it's not working. Maybe Beast is calling from the moon, as someone wrote in the chat. Yo, Holmes.
He could be. And in 2025, it's not intelligible. But in 1969, the call was just fine.
Let's check in with Philly Noodles. What's up, Philly? What's your take on the moon landing?
Yo, Gary, I can't even. This is like a first time ever. I have to agree with Gary.
There's a lot of people
landing
who
is
agree with
trash.
us. We're not like
Yeah,
we're trying
it's
to make
trash.
it out to be some crazy fringe. It's like 40% of the population
Hold
has
on,
serious
hold
questions
on.
about it.
Gary, hold on. This has never happened. Number two, there is multiple accounts of Josh McCown crying after games. There's like 3 accounts of him doing it: the Bucks, the Eagles, and the Jets.
I don't remember.
So we
I gotta
got
go look
McCown
up.
crying.
I got
We got moon landing is trash. What else we got? I mean, dude, I can't even. I'm siding with Gary, except for Ron Rivera and Jameis Winston. That's not a real campaign. Don't start that, please. Stop it now before you start it.
I didn't say I want Rivera. I said you could do worse than him. I didn't say he was my top choice or anything like that. You could do worse than Ron Rivera. That's all I'm saying.
But if he came on record and he said, "And I'd like Jameis Winston," you're on board. Oh, it's nasty. I gotta go. I can't do this.
Look, I love Jameis Winston. I mean, would I like
You
him
would.
for a year? I would take him. I'm not gonna I'm gonna buy his jersey for sure.
They
but,
both
like,
get fired at the same time.
probably. I mean,
Oh,
that's
man.
not really a long-term solution. I would agree with that. But if we
Now-
got Winston and Rivera, could we go 9-8 next year? I think so.
Hypothetical. Texas is playing. If they lose, can we get you wiping a tear with a piece of lettuce? Live on air.
Texas is gonna lose today. They're gonna lose. That's gonna happen. And I'm not
But
gonna
what
cry
lettuce?
about it. I won't be thrilled about it, but I'm not gonna sit there and cry because
Isn't the
Texas
game
lost-
tomorrow?
Yeah. What did I say?
So today.
Tonight.
Oh,
Yeah, it's tomorrow.
I'm not gonna sit there and cry because Texas lost to a team that's better than them.
And can you admit too much French butter has finally clogged up your tear ducts, and that's why the emotion is not pouring out?
No, I don't think so. I don't think the French butter has close. I mean, I can't definitively say if that's true or not, but I don't think that's true.
He's leaving this room for interpretation to that comment. You're the greatest, bro. You can't you will walk out of every conversation. It's too good. Jake, I don't
I'm
know how
not
you
gonna
do
do
it.
the Clapping Seal part.
What do you mean?
I do want to, but I'm not gonna do it because Gator's gonna use it out of context, and then it's gonna go viral, and then I'm gonna have to look at it forever.
Ladies and gentlemen, Philly Noodles and Gary. All right, folks. He has told me that he has fixed his internet. He has told me that he is in the perfect spot for this call. Will the 4th time be the charm for this guy?
Holy crap, here comes Beastbreaker 666.
Why don't you get your fat ass on a treadmill and go the distance with me?
Is that Bobby Midnight?
I'm not into politics, and I already told you that.
I might be big, but I'm gonna be bad enough to put you out.
Beastbreaker always has some salient points.
Beast? Beast.
Sorry, Jake. We had a problem. I'm getting spam calls. I'm getting it's just oh man, dude. I don't know if it's but
Piece of shit. Beast, it's just not meant to be, man. I don't know. We can't hear you. It's just static. Today's your lucky day if you're not a Beastbreaker guy. His voice cannot be cannot be heard. It's a shame. I'm a Beast fan. I think he brings a lot to the show, and unfortunately, we can't hear him. Gary, any thoughts on what we could do to get Beast's internet working?
We gotta do a GoFundMe to get him better internet. His internet in his mom's basement just isn't good enough.
Bo writes in, Jake's next giveaway, butter and a box of Kleenex.
Well, the butter is stopping me from crying, so it seems like it should be one or the other, right? The two of them don't seem to go together, right? Because the theory is that the butter prevents me from crying. So why would I need the Kleenex if I'm eating the butter?
Interesting. I'll come back to you, Gary. I got some super chats here. Nate writes in, head coach Flores, OC McCown, DC Patrick Graham. That I'd rock with that. Kyle Clifton with a $10 super chat. I apologize for not getting to this earlier, Kyle. I missed it. If Envy is loyal, it makes sense that he wouldn't want to be perceived as throwing Mayo under the bus. They overlapped 1 year in New England. Also, he's the only chance for Cowden to get a GM job this year. Yeah, look, if Mike Vrabel is loyal and wants to work with Ryan Cowden, I'd imagine the Jets could give him that opportunity. But I think Mike Vrabel just wants to go back to where it all started for him. He's comfortable with the crafts as an owner there. Maybe he believes in Drake May. I don't know. I mean, I could see him taking that job. I still think it's possible that the New England Patriots maybe hire Ben Johnson, but it feels unlikely. Jamie writes here, Miami improved after B-Flow. He'll sue the Jets for firing. Miami really hasn't improved, though, Jamie. They made the playoffs, sure. They haven't won a playoff game. I mean, have they really improved? I mean, they haven't gotten any further. Yeah, they made the playoffs, but have done nothing when they've been there. And Brian Flores was 10-6 and 9-7 his last 2 years there. They didn't really get that much better. And now they're on the hook paying Tua, and he's not a great quarterback. Izzy, thank you for the super chat here. If you have a question, write it in. Hit the like button. Last chance to get the membership to be entered in the raffle. Full-size Jet helmet on the line. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm told that this full-size Jet helmet would look great on Beast Breaker if only we can hear him. Hello, Beast.
All right, we're ready. We got a clear connection, right?
Beast, it's tough to hear you.
You got the connection?
No.
Hold on, I'm getting sick, Bill. You ready?
Beast Breaker.
Let's party. We ready? Are you ready? Let's get down to facts, shall we? Now the moon landing. Let's not talk about 1969. That was a great year. The New York Jets won Super Bowl III. The New York Mets won the World Series. That was a great year. But since then, let's look at numbers. We haven't gone to the fucking Super Bowl since 1969. We need a team. We're getting our asses chewed out by everybody. And here's the thing with everybody. Let's start realizing that our futures are on the line here. And we can get Rex. We don't need these other guys. I'm sorry, Rivera. No, he's a bum. He had his fun and his time. He's done his job. What else does he want? He's not worth the effort. Rex is worth the effort. Rabel's worth the effort. Hey, Joe, you want to do something for me? Bend over, kiss my ass. Yeah. That's right. Take a walk, you jerk. Now, I also want to give a shout out to our friend Bobby Midnight. I hope he's feeling a lot better. D-Rob, you can go so like a monkey sack for all I care, because I'm here to talk business, Joik. Now, you want to play hardball with me? John Bello, if you got a problem with me, I'm going to knock your teeth out and set my fist right down your gut and rip your heart out. Oh, you guys are something else today. I'm getting really annoyed by these questions. You know, last night was bad enough. Today's getting worse. You want to play hardball with me? You want to war with me? Let's get in the goddamn ring and you get teeth right down your fucking miserable throat. That's enough. I love the Jets. Don't get me wrong. I've been around this goddamn organization 27 years, and I don't need bastards like you running me down. So if you want some of this, come on and get you some. Now, I'm not hungry right now. Get him. Dude, seriously? Seriously. I do not need that shit. I'm sorry. If you're going to talk football with me, talk football with me. But if you're going to piss me off, you're going to get busted. Hey, Marcelo, how How would you like to have my side live up their ass? Because that's what you're gonna get next if you don't cut your crap with me. Eyebrows, really? Do you know how stupid that sounds? I'm here to talk football and business. We get Vrabel, we get Ryan. That'll be a perfect combination. Then we get Aaron Glenn. I said what I needed to goddamn say. I'm not gonna tell you all again. You all need a physical, and you need to get your balls reevaluated. Get them fixed now, and listen to what I say. Damn it! This is not a goddamn rectal exam. And Peter Castro, you can kiss my ass because you ain't worth a hill of beans, boy. Yeah, what lunch you gonna get, huh? What are you gonna get, huh? Tell me, what do you want to get? Wendy's, White Castle, Jack in the Box, what? Tom Ace, I'm gonna tell you something, you little joke. You got no right telling me to take a massive dump. Hey, the only massive dump you take is behind 7-Eleven when you're looking for a dick to suck on, you idiot. Now stop giving me fucking problems. It's bad if I had all these last night. I'm gonna do more. I don't think I'm not with y'all. Y'all get together. Enough's enough. I'm serious. I love this goddamn sport. I love football. I love the Jets organization. But I'm gonna be treated like some kind of a piece of shit. Is that clear? Get it correct. This is football. Now, let's get back to facts, shall we? This is what I'm gonna tell you right now. Seriously. Rule 1. Let's stop acting like the world's getting crushed. It's not. We're gonna be fine. We got Vrabel, we got Ryan, and we'll have Glenn. Everyone needs to stop complaining. Stop. This shit is too much. You're all crying over nothing that is totally ridiculous. Now let's start acting like civilians and acting like dummies. Holy shit, do you think I don't know this stuff already? I like Rex. He's got an attitude. I like that. Hey, Castro, you can blow. You know what? I'll tell you what you can do. These nuts. Hey, Jake, let's play that song. These nuts. Because I'm going to tell you, the next person that pisses me off, I swear to God, I will go fucking all you ready on y'all. You know, you know, a pile of old gabagoo. Offensive line, defensive line, offensive line. The first thing I'm going to address.
No more protection from the Asmaniacs. Had to pull you out of the chat and cast you down with the sodomites.
Boys. I shave every day. I also represent real people of Japan. Get out of here now. Let's concentrate on football. Are you seriously on crack? I think somebody's going to call the crack department. Retarded questions. How about you bending over and taking up the booty hole behind the 7-Eleven?
Man, it just... His internet was tough. We were getting every other word. It was tough. You know, normally the bounty to get rid of a caller is 10, but we lowered it to 5 because we were only getting half of Peacebreaker there. Because we only heard about every other word coming out of his mouth. Look, it is good to see Beast and Bobby Midnight have a kinship, though. Shout out to Ralphie. Ralphie is in the raffle for 5. And here are the 5 people who got a membership from Ralphie. Let's find out. Ladies and gentlemen, if you hear your name called, these are from the great Ralphie Rocks. Let's see. David Ayala, Ernie, Central Florida Jet, Uriah Trailer, all receiving channel memberships. There's more names, but it's not coming up. Andrew Calderon. And that might have been it. Ladies and gentlemen, shout out to Ralphie. And never forget, this all started when Bobby Midnight went at Beastbreaker first. Beastbreaker was just giving takes like everyone else who calls in. And the Bobby Midnight wanted the bounty on him, and the rest is history. Thomas gifted a membership as well. Thomas, you're in the raffle for 1 spot. Thank you for your support. The listener who got Thomas's gifted membership is Finnegan's Flight Crew. So congrats to Finnegan. I love this show. Imagine having a job where I just got to go to Gary randomly and just watch him sit there and go, dude.
What's up, Jake? How you doing?
How are you, Gary? What do you
Did
think
we
of Beast's
ever-
call there?
It was too in and out. What was his take on the moon landing? I don't think I ever got a straight answer to that.
It was tough to hear what his take was. We'll never know now. He's in the hole.
We'll never know. Well, we'll know tomorrow, I guess. If his
Or
internet gets fixed.
the afternoon show, yeah, maybe.
Or the afternoon show. Does he usually call in on the afternoon show? I feel like he only calls in on
He
the
calls
morning
in.
show.
He calls in. Usually, he's on both shows lately.
Okay, all right. Well, he's got quite a following now. He's a villain or a hero. I don't know how he's how.
I want you to come back later with a real breakdown on the moon landing and why you think it's fake.
I don't want to make this the moon landing show, but this is not like some crazy idea that like only a fringe amount of crazy people have.
No,
Like,
I've heard that conspiracy before, but I want to know why you think it's fake.
all right, I've got like books on it and stuff. But it's not that interesting of a topic for me to discuss. Like there are better conspiracy theories out there than the moon landing, which I think is totally fake. Like Cal Ripken. You know about Cal Ripken? The day the power went out in Baltimore? You know about that's a better conspiracy theory.
Is this the story with Kevin Costner?
That's the Kevin Costner story, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a much better conspiracy theory than the moon landing. I just think the moon landing is fake. Like, I don't even see any good evidence to suggest it's true.
I see. Now, is the moon flat? Nate wants to know.
I don't know. I've never been there, but that wouldn't make a whole lot of sense, would it?
Yeah, I guess so. Now, we sent him to the hole. Beast, can you call back later with better internet? All right. Thank you. Mike writes in Tower 7.
I don't know. You want to get into September 11th? I don't think you want to do that.
I don't.
Yeah, let's not do that.
Are you a conspiracy theory guy with 9/11 too, Gary?
Well, so it's not a conspiracy theory. I've never heard.
Who killed Jimmy Hoffa? Do you have a conspiracy take on that?
I've never even looked into Jimmy Hoffa. I have no knowledge on the Jimmy Hoffa. No, I don't know where he is. He's supposed to be buried under the Meadowlands or something like that. Right?
I heard he was a friend of yours back in the day.
Never met him.
No.
No.
All right. Well, you call back with your moon landing takes. All right.
All right, we'll do that.
All right. Thanks for the time, ladies and gentlemen. Beastbreaker has messaged me from the hole. I'm in a very shitty mood. I'm having a tough day. Beast, we need your internet to be working. All right. Get on better Wi-Fi, call in from your computer, and we'll get you on the afternoon slate. But we're going to wrap up this show with a call from the great AJ who called yesterday. What's up, AJ?
What's up, Jake? I don't know how I'm supposed to follow up what I just witnessed there. So I'm sorry that listeners will have to deal with a little bit more civil of a conspiracy theory here, actually football related. But my take for you today, Jake, that I just want you to sit with for a second before coming to any conclusion. I've been thinking about it and I've been sitting on it. I don't think that Ben Johnson ends up with a coaching job in this carousel. I think that he is obviously a disciple of Adam Gase. I think that they have very similar leadership qualities. And if you look back to the last time a head coach was this highly coveted, it was Adam Gase, and it was with these high demands. It took him 2 cycles to get a head coaching job. This is now the second for Ben Johnson. My opinion, I don't think there's a perfect marriage out there right now on the market for Johnson. I don't really see him hopping ship and going to Chicago, putting all of his eggs in the Caleb Williams basket. I think a lot of people think that Mike Vrabel to the Patriots is a done deal. Regardless there, I don't see them taking a shot on a guy who doesn't have experience either. And then it really only leaves the Jaguars, who are a team, in my opinion, with a guy like Trevor Lawrence, who's already on to his second contract, likely is going to go in a different direction. So if you ask me, I think that Ben Johnson remains the offensive coordinator of the Lions. And I think it makes situations a lot more interesting when you look at situations like Tennessee, where Brian Callahan's returning with now a new general manager. We'll see if the process they go through has a GM who's in love with taking Cam Ward or some quarterback at first. And then maybe Ben Johnson a year from now is still getting floated around. But I need fans to remember what happened with Eric Bieniemy. He's leading this all-time just amazing passing attack. And he interviewed for the Jets job multiple times. And everyone's wondering why he never makes it deeper through the process. There's a very big difference between being a play caller and being a leader of men. You look at Matt Patricia in Detroit, you look at these X's and O's guys like Josh McDaniels, it just doesn't typically work out in the league. We really haven't seen one hit since Sean McVay obviously has the Super Bowl to show for it. And everyone, it's a copycat league, wants to follow in suit of that young next unicorn coordinator. But I think that what we're going to see more and more here in the near future, starting with this coaching carousel, is more guys with experience and more leader of men type head coaches, Jake.
I definitely could see that. Here's what I would say, though. If Ben Johnson doesn't take another job this hiring cycle, I'd be careful. Like, there's no guarantee his stock is always going to be this high. So he'd be taking a huge risk. I do think he takes a gig during this cycle. I'd be surprised if he went back. I guess maybe if they, like, go to the Super Bowl and they lose, maybe it'd feel like we have unfinished business. But I don't know, man. Like, I'll give you an example. It's not quite to the same extent as the Ben Johnson hype, but, like, the Bengals DC who just got fired, Lou Anarumo was interviewing for, like, every head coaching job the last couple of years. And now no one's going to hire him to be a head coach. He's lucky if he gets another DC job because of how bad the Bengals defense was this year. So, like, you could be like the flavor of the month, and then, like, a year later, no one's talking to you. Like, Bobby Slowick was the all-that candidate. I don't know. Has anyone requested Slowick to interview besides the Jets? Like, I don't know. So, I'd be careful if I'm Ben Johnson is all I'm saying. And, look, I personally hope Ben Johnson goes to New England because then I think the Jets would have a chance at your guy and my guy, Mike Vrabel.
I'd completely agree with you. And maybe I put it a bit incorrectly, but I think that part of where I think Ben Johnson doesn't find that marriage, it's not only on him with his demands. He does not strike me as the kind of guy that enters a room and you leave that interview with your brass, whoever it is. Obviously, the Jets have a team in charge of it, whether it's ownership. I think that what the media kind of shoved under the rug was last offseason. If you look at what was reported, Ben Johnson was not some electric interviewer. He was leaving people feeling with more questions than they had coming into the fact.
He still had the commander's job, though, if he wanted it, and ultimately chose not to take it, though.
Yes, and I think that the combination of facts between teams maybe not being ready to fully give him the ship, like maybe the media and other sources have been letting on, is definitely a factor. And I also think a factor is there's no better job security than what Ben Johnson has right now. If he stays in Detroit, stays in that offensive coordinator position, the extension he get, yes, maybe won't be head coach money, but at that point, we're still talking generational wealth. The kids of Ben Johnson's kids still won't have to work a day in their life if they're smart with that money. So I guess my thing is it seems like Ben Johnson is very comfortable in his situation. He's made it clear through one cycle he's not going to leave without a perfect scenario. And I think that the more that time goes by, the more that I think teams may realize Ben Johnson in this perfect scenario just isn't a thing that's going to come to fruition. I do think it's more likely than not that he still gets a job. Now, the direction that goes, I just don't see him being a successful head coach in the NFL. That's a whole different conversation. But I'm saying, look out. There's an opportunity Ben Johnson doesn't get hired. And if he does, I would love if it was in our division. As you mentioned, one, to open up the Mike Vrabel sweepstakes. But two, I think that would set the Patriots backwards.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm with you. A couple things here for you, AJ. One, chat wants to know your thoughts on the moon landing. What did you make of Gary's take? Do you believe in the moon landing?
I'll just leave it at this. I'm not really much of a conspiracy theorist. Most of my quote unquote hot takes are more in the sports realm. So I don't think I'm educated enough to defend that the moon landing was fake. And all the other conspiracies that were getting thrown out there. That's no disrespect to the entertainment that Gary and Beast Breaker just were able to provide. But no, I don't consider myself much of a conspiracy theorist.
This is a request from Jake Quest. Jake, I need AJ to do the play-by-play of the Bobby Hump, so I'm going to roll it here. I'll just give you a chance to look at it first before we give you the call.
Oh,
we'll have you commentate this one. I'm going to lower the volume.
What tailgate was this at? That is crazy.
This is before the Jets Seahawks game. It was quite the moment. AJ, you're now our official Asmaniac play-by-player. This request came in from Jay Quest. He is the humper in the video, so the key characters you got to know. Bobby Midnight, who you will see on the screen. getting out of the vehicle. There he is. That is Jay Quest with a ferocious hump. And then as Bobby falls down, you can see Jay Quest kind of moving forward there. So that's the play. Now it's up to you for your style, stylistically how you want to call it. But whenever you're ready, I'll roll it.
Sure. Well, you've heard of the 12th man with Seattle, right? It's an extra factor. That's what I'm seeing here from Jay Quest. Immediately attacking, just pouncing on Bobby directly out of the car. And look at the motion in those hips. You can't teach that twitchiness. It goes to check on the man after. That is the it factor that's not taught anymore. Just 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, man. Keeps it going all the way through. And Bobby, flopping's not cool in 2024, man.
Great call. Jay Quest, hopefully that satisfied exactly what you're looking for. I'm telling you, AJ's a star in the play-by-play world. We got to enjoy him while we have him.
Absolutely. I look forward to continue being a part of your show here throughout the offseason. Have a great rest of your Thursday. Go Jets. And this evening, let's take a look at Drew Aller, because I'm not convinced he isn't going to declare if this doesn't go well for him.
I agree with you. If he plays well and they win, why wouldn't he come out? He's a top 10 pick.
Take a real hard look at it. I think that a lot of executives already have him over a guy like Shedeur Sanders, and his stock is only going up. He made that statement a little early. Just don't be surprised if he winds up falling into the lap of a team like the Raiders at 6.
Ooh, good take here from Philly. Can we get AJ for March Madness? AJ, I might have to connect you and Gator together. We're going to have a lot of production for Asmaniac Madness. Maybe we could have you be the official voice of Asmaniac Madness.
It just might have to happen. I warn your listeners, March Madness, something I take very seriously. My bracket hasn't been good since Baylor back in 2021, but in terms of covering it, I'm all here for it, Jake.
Now, this is a little different. This is what we like to call Asmaniac Madness. 60. Honestly, AJ might be in the field of 68, but we'll allow it. 68 of my callers ranked bracket style. Number 1 seeds, there'll be 4 of them, and then subsequently, exactly how they do it for the NCAA tournament. Everyone's going to fill out their brackets. Whoever has the most accurate bracket will win a prize, and whoever is the actual Asmaniac that wins the entire thing is going to receive the best of the best trophy named after the great Keith Best, RIP to Keith, and they're going to be a champion this March. So it's going to be crazy.
That's amazing, man. I love what you do with your community here. A good, I won't say tight-knit group of Jets fans, but a good group of Jet fans nevertheless. And if that little tone doesn't get your blood boiling, I don't know what does. I'm ready for March, man. This sports hiatus that's coming with Jets season coming to a close, not my favorite.
Let's go. AJ, check it in. Great call there from AJ. I'm telling you, we have something here with AJ. Gator says, does Seth Rogen know you stole his voice? He does, however, claim your hair was stolen from Asmaniac Hawk after a flight to Australia. How about I have to talk with Hawk, all right? Hawk is doing something that I really thought was a joke until about a week and a half ago. I didn't realize this was a real thing. I'll leave it at that for now. All right, one last call, then we'll get out of here. We're back this afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, Jason in Jerusalem is up next. Hello, Jason.
Hey, Jake. What's up?
How are you?
Great show. I really wanted AJ to say game 1 to the Isles.
The next Brendan Burke. I could see it in AJ there.
Yeah, it's good to know the Isles have some solid calls. There's actually some good play-by-play guys over the years. I think John Sterling got his start there, and Howie Rose and Brendan Burke, and obviously Jiggs, who I grew up with.
Yeah, most
really
of
solid
the New York
guys.
teams have always had great announcers. Like, honestly, like the teams haven't always been good, but like find me a better city that has the quality of broadcasters that New York has. Like, think about it. The voice of the NBA Finals is Mike Breen, who does the Knicks. Ian Eagles he's now the lead for the Final Four on CBS, but does NFL on CBS, basketball on Turner, does does Westwood One play-by-play. I mean, like, you go down the list.
Johnson started with the Knicks.
Tons, man, tons. There's so many guys. Like Brendan Burke does national hockey now for Turner as well.
Yeah.
I mean, you go down like every broadcaster. Gary Cohen does Seton Hall and is considered one of the best play-by-play voices in baseball. Kay does national games for ESPN, has been the Yankee voice forever. Like, everyone knows how big of a legend Sterling was. Like, you go down the list, the New York play-by-player, Sam Rosen, is one of the best of all time in hockey. Like, there's incredible broadcasters in New York.
Yeah, we're spoiled. What can we say?
We deserve it because the teams haven't been great.
I mean, even Gary Thorne got his start in New York, and he's a national icon now.
Love Gary Thorne. Gary Thorne's call of Don Mattingly's home run in the 95 ALDS is one of the greatest calls of all time.
I love
Bob
his call
Schuzen's
of
tremendous.
yeah. Oh, good love of Schuzen. Going back to what you're saying earlier in the show about Flores, and you're cool if he gets McCown as his OC. But then what? If McCown does well, he's hired out, and then you're trusting Flores to hire somebody else, which he's had no success with.
Can we worry about that problem, assuming McCown does well?
Well,
Don't
if
you
he
want to
doesn't
get the
do well,
Jets
then we
back
don't
on
want him.
track?
I'd rather have truth. The stories out of Flores really scare me. He might have been right about Tua, but the way he handled Tua was really bush league.
I think
Starting
he's
him, benching
acknowledged,
him,
though.
starting him, benching him.
I get it, but he's acknowledged that there's things he'd do differently. And Tomlin was under him, or was helping him for a year. O'Connell has been with him the last 2 years. You don't think that maybe he'd do it differently if he got another opportunity?
I think he might do certain things differently, but he just comes across as a guy who just rubs some of the players the wrong way and some of his coaches the wrong way. He just throws people under the bus. And the lawsuit thing is going to be a big black mark. How many rich NFL owners are willing to take a guy who's sued them before and not risking it again? I mean, that's going to be a big stain on his shirt.
But he's still coaching, right? Like John Gruden can't get in the league and like that. But Brian Flores is literally coaching right now. He's been hired by 2 separate organizations.
You're right, as an observer and a DC, but I don't think he's going to get the head coaching thing. I just don't see him as
he might not, but I would hire him. I would have no issue hiring him if that's the direction they went with. I'd be supportive of that decision. I think he's a guy who's won before with experience. And I just truly believe you do things differently when you get another opportunity at it. I know in my career, I've had a bunch of different radio jobs in my career, and I've been better and I've learned from certain things in each stop along the way. Like, I just think that'd be the case with an NFL head coach. Dan Quinn is doing good with a second chance. Todd Bowles is doing good with a second chance right now. Like, I'm willing to give guys another opportunity.
And you also had Frank Wright and Adam Gase and plenty of other examples of guys that just did worse their second chance. In fact,
but some of those guys
more
you
guys
mentioned,
failed second.
Okay, but some of those guys you mentioned immediately went back into it. Like, I like that Flores has had 3 years removed from being a head coach.
Right. Frankly, the Ryan thing scares me. It's almost thinking me of
McCarthy's done a nice job. Look at Mike McCarthy. He took a year off, and now look what he's done. I know they haven't won the big one in Dallas, but he won 12 games 3 years in a row.
That is true. Unfortunately, he's not. But McCarthy is also different than. I wouldn't even put them in the same category. McCarthy had a Super Bowl to his name and was a perennial top coach in the league.
Agreed. Let me ask you this then, Jason. If you don't want Flores, who would you hire?
Who would I hire? I'm actually leaning more towards. I would rather McCown over Flores. I would take the risk of getting McCown a year earlier than missing out on him altogether and completely.
You know what's interesting? I am actually surprised at the amount of Jet fans that would be cool with McCown. I really am. I thought that would be a non-starter for a lot, and it is for some. Like Peter Castro's messaging me about McCown. Curly, who will hate anything the Jets do, is anti it, but that's fine. That's Curly. I don't hate the McCown idea as much as I thought I would. Like, maybe it's because I really respect Connor Rogers, and I thought he had a good breakdown yesterday on the appeal of someone like McCown. But I still would prefer Flores over McCown because I want experience.
I mean, I would take McCown over Greasy. I would take McCown over Joe Brady.
Would you take McCown over Rex?
I don't want Rex. Rex is Art Shell 2.0. Rex is not done. What did Rex do after they made after they lost in Pittsburgh in the playoff game?
He went
8-8, 8-8.
Well, 8-8 with Geno Smith in 2013. I still maintain it's a good job.
Right. But what did he do in Buffalo afterwards? You're asking Rex to be – it's a different game now. It seems like the appeal of Rex is Rex just having Woody's ear.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying I'd hire Rex. I'm just curious where McCown would rank compared to Rex.
He'd be in my first tier. I'd love Aaron Glenn. Vrabel, if he would want it, I'd take him in a heartbeat, but seemingly he's
Would you go Aaron Glenn over McCown?
I'd want offense over defense. But I am torn. I'm pushed by the fact that Glenn was the Parcells guy. But when Glenn played, you never viewed him as a coach in waiting. At the end of his career, you viewed McCown as a coach in a player's uniform. He was the mentor. He was the coach. He was the extra set of
Yeah.
guidance and the go-between. He's been a coach a lot longer than, and he had the respect of the players.
I get
And
it.
this,
I like McCown.
Right. And the idea, and I hate it because the greatest example of this was the Lions when they were in the 90s and the 2000s. They had a coach that was too soft in Wayne Fonz, and then they had to go to Bobby Ross because he was hardcore Army type, and then they had to go to whoever they got afterwards, Morton Weg, who was more of a players coach. It's like people ping pong between a players coach and a disciplinarian, a player coach and disciplinarian, and the team is so soft now. So we think we need to get a Flores to lay down the hammer on the team. It'll be too far. You need to find somebody in the middle who can just gain the players' respect and play both of them, and not play hot or cold. Pick your extremes.
So gun to your head. You can only pick one coach. Who's your guy?
If Vrabel's in there or Vrabel's out?
You can't get Vrabel because I think everyone would pick Vrabel.
Really, really into McCown.
Wow.
I would go with McCown.
All right. Look, I'm not going to tell you you're crazy. I see the vision. The Jets would be saying, we found Kevin O'Connell before someone else found the next Kevin O'Connell. Before that, it was Shanahan and McVay. We found that guy. I get it. I just think it's a huge risk involved with that.
And I'm also cool if they hire Greenberg in Tampa if he brings Liam Cohen with him.
Okay.
But with McCown, I want a veteran DC to come. Somebody who has experience as a DC, possibly been an HC. I don't mind if Antonio Pierce comes with him. Wink Martindale, if he was willing to leave University of Michigan.
Matt
something like that.
That's who I would take.
Okay. I'm not against that idea.
He's a former head coach.
That's true. I just think which defense has scared you more, that Indy defense or a Wink Martindale defense?
I like Wink Martindale. Honestly, Wink runs the same scheme that Rex ran all those years, so I'd be interested in being like, "Hey Rex, would you be the DC?" And if he says no, fine, but at least ask him.
Yeah, the question is, would Rex try to create a mutiny inside? Could he handle somebody as the H coach? Could he handle somebody who's that much younger than him and was a player in his coaching days?
Yeah, I don't know. You'd have to ask him that. I personally don't think Rex would be the DC of the Jets, but I at least want to entertain that conversation.
Agreed. All right, Jacob.
Jason.
Shalom from Jerusalem.
What time is it in Jerusalem right now? What's the time difference there?
7 hours, 8:31.
All right. Well, happy almost Shabbat to you. Yeah.
Yes, when summer's coming on.
I love it. Appreciate it, Jason. Good call as always, man. Hit the like button. We'll be back this afternoon. Stay tuned for which guest, but let me get to the super chat here from Tyler. Tyler, appreciate you. Wishful thinking, but McCown's my dark horse. Was the mentor for Sam in his best year for us, and now has helped Sam as the QB coach in Minnesota. I like McCown a lot. The Texans almost hired him right off the field a few years ago. He's got great leadership qualities. I'm sure he'd hire a good staff because of his connections everywhere around the league. You just don't know how he'll do because he's never done it. And it feels like a huge risk for the Jets to take. I'm not saying it wouldn't be a good decision, but I would still prefer the experience route. I would. JJ says, Josh McCown, terrible option. 1-10 in Carolina, never a coordinator. You can't put McCown's record as a quarterback coach with the Panthers on him. That was Frank Reich. And have you seen the Panthers, by the way? They had Darnold and Baker Mayfield and sucked. And those have been two of the best quarterbacks in the league this year. You could be anti-McCown because he's never been a coordinator and you don't think he's ready to be a head coach. That, I think, is a fair criticism. I agree with that. That's why I'd prefer Brian Flores over Josh McCown. But you can't say he's 1-10 in Carolina. That's crazy. Anyway, all right. Chat's fired up. Thank you all for your support. Fun show. Thank you to Nick Faria who joined us for the first hour. If you want his thoughts on the latest with the Jet search, appreciate all of you. Once again, we're back this afternoon, so I'm looking forward to that. Maybe Beast Breaker will have internet that works, and if he does, man, that'd be fun. That'd be great to see. Again, thank you all, ladies and gentlemen. JETS, 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 Jets. I think in classic Charles Gorman fashion, I saw a comment from Charles that said, "Who is Knoble?" as we played a full video explaining exactly who Knoble is. So, Charles, I go to you next. Do you still not know who Knoble is?
I think Lane Train's an idiot. I don't think he knows what he's talking about.
What do you mean he's an idiot?
He's making stuff up. Who's Knoble? I looked him up on the internet and he's not there.
He is. He went to college.
Guys, stop it. Seriously, I know the bullshit coming out of your mouth. It's bullshit.
Charles, I don't like your tone.
Here,
Charles.
how do you spell Knoble?
Charles, I don't need to dignify your nonsense. See you later. Get out of here. How do you spell Knoble? Doesn't matter how to spell Knoble. All that matters is he's one of the great prospects we've ever seen.
On the 2022 draft pick, the pick goes to Knoble out of college.
More of your calls right now. Let's go to Jake Klein. What's up, Jake?
Well, actually, first off, for 1 second, who's Knoble?
No, he's a phenomenal prospect for the New York Jets.
I tried Googling. It said like amusement park things. I was like, okay,
no, he played at college.
Okay. Okay. All right. I'll Google it another time, but
see you later. Jake, thanks for the time. Charles writes in, enough with the chicken soup talk. I'm pissed because of the stupidity this show has succumbed to. Hello, Charles.
Enough with the stupidity. I understand this Lane Train guy may be a nice guy, but does he even know what he's talking about? I've been looking this Knoble guy nonstop. Here, I'll share my screen with you. I know you're laughing, Jake.
Yeah, I'm laughing.
Knoble.
Type in Knoble out of college. It comes right up. It's like the first search. Type it in.
I am out of college. There's no such thing as him.
You believe everything you see on the internet? You're telling me your Google is accurate right now?
Yes, it is accurate.
How is it possible, Charles, if Knoble's not real, that Gator was able to put together an entire draft profile?
Knoble, FP football player from college. He is 5'7", 109.8 LBS, prospect grade 0.0, production score 69, and an athletic score of 007. He's very good, gets flag penalties, but he's very, very good, and I'm very good at this, taking football players.
You're defending Lane Train. That's what you're doing.
He played for the Rhinos. You just saw it.
Jake, if you want to lose a subscriber, stop right now.
Charles, I will take Lane Train over anybody. So if you're going to unsubscribe to my channel over Lane Train, then you know what? You got to do what you got to do.
Stop defending Lane Train.
Charles.
The guy doesn't know what he's talking about, Jake. How about stop lying to yourself, stop lying to these people, and actually say the truth? I'm on your Discord, and one guy called Frankie Castle agrees with me.
Charles, I'll just keep playing Lane Train Sounders if you keep slandering the man.
I'm not slandering the man. I'm telling him. But you know what? I'm not in the mood right now. Goodbye.
Charles, thank you for the time. Well, people, are you Team Lane or Team Charles? I'm glad this guy called in because he was slandered earlier, and I will not stand for this.
Hi, how are you? Bruce Hall. That's good.
The Lane Train. What's up, Lane Kerner?
How are you? Great. The 2 for this draft coming up, who do you take going into the 10th round for the draft? Do you take Brian, or do you want to take there's a lot of different players. Who do you think?
Who's Brian?
Yeah, the guy that they he drafted. Brian, what's his last name? Brian, you know?
What's Brian's last name? Do you know?
I forgot. There's a lot of other ideas. So who do you see going to the Jets in the 10th round, in the first round?
I really want them to take Knoble, and you brought him up a couple times.
Yeah, I know. But what happens if they don't get him? Then what do you do? Do you maybe go after somebody else? I don't think we need anybody else. I mean, I think that, you're going to work around the whole team going into next year.
Great point. Lane, thank you for the call. I hope you had a good Sunday.
You too. Hi. Sorry, everybody. See you next call when we talk about sports again.
Charles's head is spinning after that call. Chugga, 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 choo, choo.